When you think of heavy use of ink at a football club, you're normally talking about new tattoos on the players, but at Port Adelaide this week, it was all about signing contracts. They locked in their senior coach, Ken Hinkley, for 2 more seasons until 2025, and also signed up Dylan Williams, Kane Farrell and Jace Burgoyne, also with 2-year extensions. Can they follow up by signing up their coach and a couple of promising young players, with locking in a spot high up on the ladder in season 2023? They're already assured of a top 4 finish. Still a chance, if other results go their way and they win their final 2, of perhaps finishing in the top 2. Collingwood a bit shaky. Brisbane maybe so as well. A huge percentage boost would still be required, but never rule anything out when Fremantle are your opponents. The Dockers have been everything from brilliant to terrible in 2023. Absolutely thumped their arch rivals last week. Their biggest ever win in a derby, 101 points. Will that have them up and about for today's game in the West? Cool, overcast, but no rain expected. Good to have you with us here at Perth Stadium. Clint Wilden in commentary alongside Mitch Turner. No late changes, by the way. The subs, Erasmus and Boak for both clubs. Good to see you, Mitch.
Good to see you as well, Clint. The sub's always interesting. Travis Boak at one end of his career at 35 years of age, the 19-year-old Neil Erasmus on the other side. It's always an interesting little bit of byplay. Who gets the sub role? As you mentioned, a big week for Port Adelaide. Ken Hinkley inking that new deal and the club backing him in, showing the faith. If he wins today, Clint, it'll be win number 142 as coach of Port Adelaide for Ken Hinkley. That would tie the most wins coached for Port with Mark Williams, who also has 142. Ken Hinkley done it a little bit faster if he gets it done today, so a slightly better winning percentage, but as he inks that new deal, there's one thing missing in comparison to Mark Williams, and that's that trophy in the cabinet at the end of September. A big day for the Dockers as well, 4th debutant for them, and probably the best story of the year out of all the debutants for Fremantle, and that's Thomas Emmett, 21 years of age, mature age recruit from Sturt, pick 41 over there in South Australia. At 16, diagnosed with a rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so had a cancer battle, went through chemo treatment and had to fight his way back, not just to get back on the football field, but to get back to living a healthy life. So well done to Thomas Emmett. It's thoroughly deserved it, and the way he tackled that approach to getting drafted. Clint, I'm sure the fans here today and people listening around will get a taste of just how he goes about it. He is a competitor, Thomas Emmett. Looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table today.
186 centimetres, 89 kilos, averaging 15 disposals when playing as a forward for Peel Thunder and a pressure forward as well in the WAFL. As you say, it's one of the genuine feel-good stories of the competition. Can't wait to see him in action. Just repeating, taking at pick 41 in last year's national draft. Fremantle versus Port Adelaide. Clint Wilden alongside Mitch Turner. Our experts today, a big hello to former Fremantle AFLW captain Cara Antonio, Magpies premiership player, former Eagles Sharad Willingham. Welcome to you both. What do we see from the Dockers today? They were awesome last week against the West Coast side, who at times did resemble blue and gold, well, training cones. I say that coming off the back of a miraculous performance by West Coast today. Congratulations to the Eagle, that stunning win over the Western Bulldogs. How do they go into this game? It is retro round for the Dockers, so they're back in the old school jumper. It's the, let me get this right officially, it's the tri-panel anchor away jumper is the official title from 2001 to 2005.
So the strong green, red.
No, it's the predominantly purple background with the anchor that went straight down the middle, but there's a touch of red on either side and a few little dashes of white. It's not what I reckon is still the best jumper and my favourite.
I love that one where it was red, green, purple with the white through the middle.
Oh, I like the green with the white anchor and the 2 bits of 2 bits of purple.
Plenty of retro kits out there today with the fans. Everyone's brought them out as I was walking in. There's woolen jumpers and everything.
People say never be seen in green. No, be seen in green. Bring that back. Lockie Schultz, I know, was a big fan of it as well. How do we expect this one to go? Port were amazing last week against the Giants. They crushed them, and so too Fremantle, as I mentioned before. So you've got two teams that really should come into this game in absolutely red-hot form and full of confidence.
Yeah, for mine, I don't really think... I know that both teams played really well last week, but they haven't been in cracking form, either of them. Porter 1-5, Freo are 2-5. So 2-3, sorry. 1-4 and 2-3. So not really going that amazingly, but for mine, I think that Port are going to come out with a real sense of urgency, being the lead up into finals. They know that over the last few weeks of the regular home and away season, you really need to be primed. I know that we now have the break in between, the little gap, but you also need to have really good form, and that's why we kind of, from my point of view, I see that they're going to have a real emphasis on making sure that they come out and start hot. They're going to obviously have done a mountain of work on the performance that Freo put up last week, as you said, against the Witches hats that were West Coast. So I think that it may have been a little bit too easy for Freo last week up against a team that knows how much is on the line for them, Cara.
Yeah, completely agree. I was really impressed with Port Adelaide last week. Their score from clearance especially, they outscored their opponents quite significantly, and they're ranked second in the AFL from scores from clearance. So for me, it'll be won and lost in the midfield this afternoon. And again, we know that Hayden Young has played that run with role the last couple of weeks. So who does he go to? But you look at the Port Adelaide midfielders: Butters, Wines, Rosé, Horne-Francis.
I think he could be a really good matchup for Rosé. I see them matching up quite well in the way that they move around the ground. Obviously, Young's really good in the back half, and so Rosé being so damaging in the forward half could be a really good way to counteract his influence on the game. But as you said, that midfield of Port, of Butters, Rosé,
they're dangerous,
Francis,
aren't they?
Wines. The bulk of Wines, I think, will have a really big impact because he can put himself in really predictable places with the dominance of, I think, the Fremantle ruckman will have. So it may counteract that a little bit. Jackson, obviously will get his hand to a lot of ball, but if they can clog up some really dangerous spots in that CB and around the ground, I think that it'll go a long way for Port being able to make the most and being really damaging off those clearances.
Definitely. And I think what really worked for Fremantle last year, yes, okay, they played a not so informed West Coast Eagles. However, I think their ability to get their ball movement back to what we've known it the last couple of seasons, running in waves, half-back run, coming through the corridor. They're the second highest team to come through the corridor and score from corridor balls. So that, for me, they can't go away from that. That's what's worked.
That's what worked last week. Don't steer away
100%.
from it.
So for me, I really want them to start strong, use the corridor, get it in nice and deep to the forwards, and let the smalls go to work. We know Lockie Schultz hit the board with 5 goals last week. Their smalls are really dangerous on ground level, and we know their tools, their young tools, have been able to hit the scoreboard and fly for marks. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see how Fremantle can match up against Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide probably coming in the favourites to the game, but it's anyone's game today, I think. A lot on the line for Port running into finals, but also a bit for Fremantle today as well.
So for mine, I think that Port are probably going to have dominance around the clearance, but as you said, Fremantle's rebound and ability to defend and then make attacking plays from that defensive transition, I think, is what they're going to have to rely really well on and do really well. So Port's going to put them under the pressure by getting it in there a fair bit, by dominating the clearance, but can Fremantle rebound well enough?
The Dockers assemble at the banner that says the jumper's back and on display in all its glory. Anchors away. That's the best Fremantle banner that I think I've seen in years. Mind you, at least
good too.
I like the Guernseys.
Credit to them.
Good.
They still have one. Well, West Coast get one next week. Port Adelaide still to raise their banner as the Dockers burst through and head to the city end of Perth Stadium to complete their warm-up. It is a good-looking jumper, the tri-panel anchor, the away jumper from 2001 to 2005. There is a game currently still underway. It's half-time at the MCG. The Demons against the Hawks. And Melbourne just in front at the moment, 6-5-41 to Hawthorn's 6-3-39. We'll keep you right across that game throughout our coverage here at Perth Stadium of Fremantle versus Port Adelaide. And repeating, if you missed it earlier today, a big shock with the Western Bulldogs going down to the West Coast Eagles. The Eagles 14-8-92, beating the Western Bulldogs 12-13-85. So a 7-point win to West Coast to just ease a little bit of pressure on Adam Simpson. And I've got absolutely no doubt pour some more of that on Luke Beveridge. So the Dockers warming up. Good chance. Let's head downstairs, I think, and have a chat to the other member of our team today. Akash Vodadar is with us. Akash.
Thanks, Clint. I've got Fremantle Dockers forwards coach Jamie Graham with me. Jamie, thanks for your time before the bounce. After a big win like last week, how do you get the group to refocus on the challenge of a top 4 side like Port Adelaide?
Obviously it was a pleasing result last week. Like anything, we review the game, positives, RFIs, and then we anchor and reset and focus on Port Adelaide this week, and that's our process. We're all about playing consistent footy and finishing the year strongly, so it's another good challenge for that today.
As a forward group, how much time and focus do you put on stopping, say, the intercepting and rebound of someone like an Aaliyah and the other Port Adelaide defenders?
Yeah, going in any game, and you obviously look at their strengths and then the opportunities against them as well. So, yeah, they're not an overly tall backline, but yeah, they have got a lot of guys who can intercept mark and go for their marks, and Aaliyah's one of them, but Houston and Burton also can go for their marks when they're playing on smaller opponents, and we're not that tall ourselves. So put a little bit of focus on that. Important that our talls and our rucks halve contests at a minimum and bring our smalls into the game, and that's always a focus.
Do you look to try and stretch their defence at any point?
Yeah, like I said, we're not overly tall ourselves. Miss and Tracy, our main talls, and Jackson in the ruck. So I don't know if we'll be able to stretch them, but like I said, at worst we provide a contest and bring it to ground, and I think our smalls have shown they can do some damage if we can get it to ground level. We can bring them into the game.
Speaking of Jai Amos, 38 goals from a second-year key forward. How impressed have you been with his season, and what's it been like working with him as the forwards coach?
Oh, we've been super impressed. He's had limited pre-seasons the last couple, and last year he had an injury interrupted the season. But his attitude, the way he prepares, he looks at his opposition and understands what their strengths are, but he also understands what his are, and we love that about him. He's competitive. You'll see when he's out of a contest, he fights to bring it to ground if he's not marking it, and we've seen what he can do at ground level. I think he's added that to his game. So he's been impressive. He's going to be a great player for the club.
Where do you see his future, I guess his ceiling? How good do you think he can be and how he can develop?
Yeah, we don't need to put a ceiling on him at all, but I think he's shown he is that lead-up type player, and that is a real strength of his. But as he gets bigger and stronger, we've seen him take some strong contested marks this year, but I think he'll be able to do that on a more consistent basis. And when he builds his tank, he'll be able to get up the ground a bit further and work over 4 quarters. So we've seen glimpses of it, but it'll just become more consistent.
Tell us a bit about the first game of Tom Emmett. It's quite a great story how he's got to this stage.
Oh, he's obviously a resilient young man. I actually got to spend the first day with him when he got over. We were down south on a community camp, and I was so impressed with the way he went about things. He's got a lot of perspective in life, but he's hungry. He was so pumped to get announced to make his debut. He's competitive. He'll leave nothing out there, and that's what we love about him. So, yeah, a real trademark type player, and obviously a resilient young man, and we're really happy to have him on board and looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Now, I know your focus is, of course, on the Port Adelaide game today, but I do have to ask, with coaching vacancies coming up around the AFL, have you put your hand up, or do you plan to put your hand up for any of them?
No, I haven't at this stage this year, if you're talking. I have previously. I've got aspirations, but at the moment I'm really enjoying what I'm doing at Fremantle. I'm solely focused on that and helping this young group try and achieve as much as we can. We've been disappointed with where we have finished this year, but there's a bright future, and that's where my focus is at the moment.
Great, Jamie, thanks so much for your time, and good luck today.
Good on you, take care.
Jamie Graham downstairs with the catch photo. The Power are on the ground. They're in their away kit, the grey, sort of silvery look at the front with the V of teal and black. Same coloured shorts and the regulation socks as they warm up to the Farmer Freeway end of the stadium with our broadcast position here on the northern wing. Clint Wilden with you alongside Mitch Turner, our experts Sharad Wellingham and Cara Antonio. And just repeating again, the Demons by 2 at halftime over the Hawks. The Eagles winning earlier today over the Western Bulldogs by 7 points. No late changes to the Dockers or for Port. The emergencies, Neil Erasmus and Travis Boak, 2-time best and fairest, 3-time All-Australian. Port Adelaide's oldest player will be on the interchange bench as a sub to start today's proceedings. Mentioned earlier at the very top of our coverage, it's been a big week for Port Adelaide, especially with the re-signing of Ken Hinkley, the coach locked in for another 2 years. Here's a little bit about what he had to say at the announcement that he'd be sticking around with the Power.
Simply a matter of having a conversation around, the support that the club have given me and the passion that I still have for the job with the club. Once the question was, do you want to? Did they want me to? It was a simple yes from both parties. It's a tough job, but it's one that I still love, and it's one that I've got great support still at home. And 2 years, who knows? We don't put deadlines on it. We'll just see where it ends up. But 2 more years is, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. No one gets it more than us internally and the players, myself, that we actually haven't won. I haven't ultimately won a premiership, but you've got to look at the things that we've done over that journey and the change and the list changes that we've made. You look at a club this week who took the field on the weekend, the third youngest list on the field. You've got to look at us as a different list than what you might have been looking at it 5 or 6 years ago. This is a different list and a different team, and hopefully, ultimately, the boys can get the results. Say, look, I was probably feeling some type of heat around round 3, I reckon, at some point, but that was on it. I was actually okay with all that, and I think the club was okay. We knew, and that's why we set out at the start of the year. We had a time frame, we had a deadline to work to, and we wanted to work that and stick to that because we knew that pressure was going to come at some point. Footy seasons are so hard; they're up and down all the time. So you just got to maintain your focus on what you need to do, and we did that really well as a football club. But yeah, there's clearly some times where, but that's not just this year. I think it's every year when you're in this game. When you qualify high, you give yourself a great chance. We've qualified high already, gives yourselves a great chance, but no guarantees. You've only got to watch footy week in, week out, and you know how tight it is. And particularly when you get to the end, you know there's going to be small margins games. It's a bounce of the ball. Like, seriously, we've been involved in a couple of prelims where a bounce of the ball costs us an opportunity. That's what happens. I've been lucky enough in my past to be in a part of a winning grand final because of a toe poke in the middle of the ground. I mean, simple things like that are the difference. That's what happens.
Port Adelaide to come, Fremantle today, and then Richmond, the Adelaide Oval, their final game of the season. On the live ladder, they've currently slipped to 4th, with Melbourne being just in front of Hawthorn. The Demons, as we speak, just climbing up into 3rd spot. They have the superior percentage on Port Adelaide, but of course Adelaide winning today will see them move into 3rd. Would you rather play Collingwood or Brisbane? Collingwood at the MCG in the first week of the finals, Brisbane at the Gather in the first week of the finals. It's an interesting discussion point. Jai Amos had a quiet patch for a couple of weeks, but burst back into life for the Fremantle Dockers last week against the Eagles, booting 4 goals. And Mitch Turner, I know we've raved about what we've seen from him so far this year, but he really is setting a few notable benchmarks for the Fremantle Dockers, and he could do so today.
Well, he does. He passes the eye test, Clint, but the stats back up the incredible season Jai Amos is having. So 2 goals today. He's sitting on 38. If he can get to 40, he'd be the youngest Docker ever to kick 40 goals in a season. And we know that they've had some decent forwards and some great forwards, but just to put that in perspective, Matthew Pavlich obviously moved around the ground early in his career, but he was 23 when he first reached the mark. Michael Walters was 22, Hayden Ballantyne 27, Paul Medhurst and Trent Crowe, the youngest at the moment, both 21 when they reached the 40 goals in a season milestone, and Clive Waterhouse, which is fitting as we look at a retro jumper today, 25 he was when he kicked 42, so would be quite comfortably the youngest Docker to kick 40 goals in a season, which is just incredible, really, because I'm sure Cara and Shara, as you look at him out there, he's still got a lot of development left in him, Jai Amos.
He is. There's not much of him, is there? He's quite lean, good height, though, and again, I've been really impressed with him this year, especially with the likes of obviously Taberner being out, no real key forward for Fremantle, obviously Jackson having to play in the ruck now, so he's been able to step up and he's impressed. He's a really exciting player and the future of the football club. So no doubt the coaching staff and the fans are excited to see what he's capable of doing today.
He's probably led the way, and obviously we know they call him never miss, Jai, and he's known for his set shot accuracy and how good he is in front of the sticks. And the Fremantle, the most accurate set shot team in the competition, which is somewhat remarkable to think that, because we don't normally associate Fremantle in recent times necessarily as being a very accurate kick on goal. They've at times wasted some opportunities. So
he's just got such a simple and compact kicking technique for goal, doesn't he? He doesn't. My concern is when he is too far away and he still tries to do that really slow short.
Yeah.
And he walks, doesn't he?
Yeah,
It's
so
very close to the man of the mark.
I think that he might have to have a couple of different approaches. Maybe say when he's outside 35-40, because inside 35, he's just a dead eye, isn't he? He keeps it really simple, really compact, really in line, doesn't veer off his line at all. Ball drop's always really, really clean.
Gets a good height and
Gets a good
purchase on
height.
it.
The other thing that does scare me a little bit is how close he can get to the man on the mark. But, he's got his routine down packed, and that's all you need, because when you go back, as you know, Cara, if you go back and you know you've got your routine, you don't even think about the external influences. You stick to your routine and you know what's going to work, and don't really worry about everything else.
Let's have a chat downstairs. The other member of our team, Akash Fodadar. Looks like a pretty good afternoon from where we sit, Akash. No rain expected, few clouds about. What's it like down there, boundary side?
It's really nice down here, Clint. Even slightly muggy, but not much of a breeze. As you mentioned, the clouds are clearing. We're not expecting any rain, and it's about 20 degrees at the moment. The other thing I can tell you from ground level is those Fremantle retro jumpers look fantastic, and I think they should bring them back as a more permanent fixture. As I look across to the benches for the Dockers, Sam Sturt, O'Meara, the debutant Tom Emmett and Carl Warner on the bench with Neil Erasmus as the sub. And from Port Adelaide, Ollie Wines, Jason Horne-Francis, Dylan Williams and Ollie Lord are on the bench, and the veteran Travis Boak is the sub.
Think about retro, Akash. It's good in short doses. Let's get the thoughts of our expert, our commentary team. Who wins, Sharad?
Port for mine.
Cara?
I'm going to go the Dockers in an upset.
What about you, Mitch?
Port Adelaide for me.
I'm with you, Cara. I'm with Freo. I think they can cause a bit of a shock today.
Split.
We're split, which everyone will be relieved. Both sets of supporters, they're not having to drag us behind them. As always, love to hear from you. 0437 774 774 if you want to have your say. Let's get this cranking. Retro round in the West. It's the Dockers against the Power on Grandstand AFL. Here's Mitch Turner.
Fremantle kicking to the Graham Farmer end of the ground as the ball goes up in the middle. Jackson taps it down. Hayes just sharks the ball. Port knock it forward. Butters runs onto it. Rioli outside 50 gives it to Willem Drew, running on goal to get Port off to the perfect start. Can't find the big sticks. Away to the left, a minor score, but fast work from Port Adelaide to open proceedings. Just 20 seconds played. They're on the board with a minor score.
Here's Ryan, getting the ball back into play. Kick towards centre half forward, or centre half back rather. They go up. Jonas almost got hands to it. A free kick. Well, Mark's been paid here actually to Tracy out of all of that. Take it and move it on to the Dockers. Comes towards Schultz, who marks on his chest, just forward of centre wing. Spins the footy over in his hands. Can he go short? He will to Johnson. Right up against the boundary line. Beneath our broadcast position on the northern wing. Cool afternoon by Perth standards. Johnson inside forward 50 into the sunshine. Frederick flew at the back, got a hand to it, spilled down. Jonas picked it up for Port, got it to Farrell. Whole hurried kick straight towards Henry. Broke one tackle, got a hand pass out. Tracy's hand pass to no one in particular. Hits the ground. Going back by a hand. Butters getting a kick away. Jonas, and then down the throat of Aish, who marks at centre half forward for Freo.
Just too far out to score. James Aish sets it up to the hot spot, looking for a marker at the back. Frederick couldn't take it. Falls away at Port. They lose the ball now. Schultz back onto it for Fremantle. Jackson tries to square it up into the 50 to Young. Had a slip. Got it back to Wagner. Broke the tackle. Now Brayshaw taps it back to Clark. Kicks towards Amos. Ball knocked away by Aurelia. Frederick crumbing. Lost possession. Port win it back, and Jones' kick is smothered over the line by the dangerous Bailey Banfield in that forward line. Back into the side for the first time since round 18. Ball in.
Thrown back in. One down here by Jackson. Came straight to Bergman though of Port. And the clearing kick from Rosie gets Port Adelaide beyond defensive 50. It's bounced and it's going to be thrown in. Freo fans deliberate out of all of that. Aish was right there, standing on the boundary line, and thought, what's going on?
Good kick for touch, as they say.
Was.
Hot footy early. Really good from both sides.
Good pressure on the ball and good running to make space for each other as well.
Good aggression early doors. He's up against Jackson. Port player won it down. Butters over the top of it. Couldn't gather for Port. Freo can emerge with it through Brayshaw. He's going to get a free kick. He was taken high. He'll have it just forward of centre wing, out of sight of the ground. Butters didn't quite return the ball. Now, there's a Dockers player that was upended then. Sarong got knocked over by Drew. That will be a battle all day. And now there's a bit of push and shove. Free kick being brought forward for Fremantle. We'll come towards right half forward, and it's still going on out there.
Professional by Sarong.
Yeah,
actually engaged the contact with Drew, but then when the fight came back, he went to ground very quickly. Nice professional draw of the free kick.
Yeah, Drew been giving plenty of advice too from the Dockers amongst all of that. It has brought Brayshaw to the 50 where he stands. He'll kick from about 40 metres out. It's a 45-degree angle out to the right. Brayshaw looks for the first of the day for the Dockers. He misses, pushing it to the left-hand side. A minor score. One behind apiece. Opening 3.5 minutes. Grandstand AFL. First term here at Perth Stadium. Our experts, Cara Antonio and Sharad Willingham.
Support bring the ball out of defence through Rosie. Kick to the wing, went over the back of the pack. Getting there first is Cox for the Dockers. Able to track it back. Kicks very deep back into defence. All the way inside his own defensive 50 to Ryan, who switches the ball to Clark. Short again, further afield to Henry with a dangerous kick. Was looking for 8. Rioli did well to cut it off. Now looking to burn Jones. Ryan has to come through and knock it to Henry. The Dockers, for the time being, are they out of danger? The kick from Clark is a brilliant one towards defensive 50, and Hayden Young is able to take the mark. And the Dockers survive a small scare.
Young goes back, right back to fullback. Brennan Cox. It does look a lot like Robbie Hadrill in that jumper. Goes into the right back pocket. You made that comment off air pre-game, Mitch. Bang on. Comes to Clark. Now again towards Brayshaw, who looks to switch it out towards left half back. The cheer is for Emmett, who's on the ground. The mark is with Johnson for Fremantle at left half back. Emmett standing just in front of the interchange gates. Number 18 on his back if you're in the ground. Kick into the middle of the ground. It's almost turned over. Young there, fortunately got it. Hand pass to Pearce in the centre circles. Didwell got the arms free. Moved it on to Aish. Kick inside forward 50. Unable to mark that time. Amos spilled out the bag. Barrel run down by Frederick holding the ball. Free kick right in front of goal and 35 metres out.
Well, I don't know if that's amazing forward pressure or a complete lack of awareness for, not just for Farrell but also his teammates. You've got to let him know that he's under pressure. But on the other side of the coin, it's great forward pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, quick to react here was Frederick. The kick inside into the corridor, a risky one, but it paid off. It could have gone easily down the other end for Port, but really good ball movement from Fremantle.
Michael Frederick. Boots cross the top of the 50-metre arc. The kick's on its way. The crowd will tell you, Fremantle fans are up and about. They've got the first of the game. It comes at the 6-minute mark of the opening term. Fremantle are 1-1-7. Port Adelaide 1 behind. Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and on the AFL Extra button on the ABC Listen app. Clint Wilden alongside Mitch Turner, our experts Sharad Willingham and Cara Antonio.
Yeah, he had options there just to give the first hand, and you can see Butters remonstrating with him after it does happen, just to give the first opportunity you have. But great forward pressure by Frederick. That's what he's not become known for, because I really think that his ability to present and mark and get his own ball is really good, but his forward pressure is also elite. Super reliable set shot as well, isn't he?
Very good.
So the Dockers take an early lead here on the back of the Michael Frederick goal. Ball back in the middle. Port first hands through Horn Francis, then Drew. Hayes to Rosie. Stops, props, kicks it inside the forward 50. Wagner had front position, was able to knock it down to a teammate, but it's stolen back by the Power. Power Pepper spins, snaps towards goal, doesn't get the bounce. Marshall picks it up. Can he get it through the goals? Can't get boots a ball. Rioli knocks it to Finlayson. And eventually he kicks offline through the behinds from the goal square. Another minor score to the Power. 2 straight behinds. They trail Fremantle 1-1-7. 7.5 minutes played. Opening term here at Perth Stadium.
Demons still by 2 points over the Hawks. Opening 3 minutes in the third at the MCG. Kicking beyond defensive 50. Punched down here by Houston. Getting to it though, Brayshaw has it for the Dockers. Gave it to Sarong. Got free and handed it out to Banfield at left half back. Good spoil from Port. Burton at full stretch. Got his hands to it, sort of crossed the boundary line for a throw-in.
Does look like Young trying to find his way to Rosé there as that matchup.
It's been hot early. He already had the 4 Rosé as well.
Spun back in. Jackson front position. Down to Sarong for the Dockers. Now here's O'Meara. Kicks to a big challenge at left half forward. 3-on-3 battle. One down beautifully. Tracy got it down there to Banfield. Hand passes back to Tracy. Breaks the Jonas tackle. 60 from goal. Sends it towards the big sticks. Misses to the left-hand side. He had other options inside forward 50. Took it on himself. Just a minor score. Dockers by 6 points. 8 gone in the first.
It's a booming kick of the ball. Josh Tracy just offline on that occasion as Williams looks to bring the ball back into play for the Power. Kicks towards the middle of the ground. Goes over the outstretched hand of Luke Ryan. Running through the middle was McAtee. Got chased down. The Dockers win possession back. Brayshaw has to retreat. Clark at half back, able to dash away and find an open Carl Warner just outside left half back. Warner's kick up the wings, a good one to Frederick. The retro jumper looking a treat here at Perth Stadium. The Dockers moving it well here in the opening term. Switkowski kicking a half from home. Had a lead from Sturt, chose to ignore it. Gets called to move on by the umpire. Goes into the pocket. And somehow Luke Jackson found the space on the lead. Was able to take an uncontested chest mark. Will go back and kick 45 metres out, tight angle.
Well, it was a good entry because I had an extra number back, Port.
Yeah, 2 really patient and deliberate kicks. Frederick, the one up on the wing, waiting for Switkowski to come up at him. And then the patience going inside forward 50.
He's in incredible form. Luke Jackson has found his way into career best form this season and has been pretty good in front of the big sticks. And he's off to the perfect start today. The Dockers get their second. This time the boot of Luke Jackson. 2-2-14. They lead the Power. 2 straight behinds. A 12-point margin. Early stages, opening quarter. Perth Stadium, our experts. Former Fremantle AFLW captain Cara Antonio and Magpie Premiership player Sharad Wellingham.
It was a really, really smart and not overly complicated little pattern just run by Jackson. Then he led Hayes down towards the goal square and then quick little hook around and back at the kicker. Nothing, nothing revolutionary, but simple and working.
Nice.
And how is the turnaround from the pressure on Jackson at the start of the year to the form that he's found in the back half is incredible.
Back in the middle, in the centre circles, up against Finlayson. Wins the tap down too, didn't have to leap at it. Spilled there in the direction of Horn Francis. It's been held into him. Young tackled him. Ball up the call again. Throwing up in the centre circles. Jackson had it. Tapped it down. Brayshaw, quick kick towards centre half forward. Ball spills out. Well locked in here. It came out in the direction of Farrell. Tracy got him and made sure it wouldn't come out. Ball up again, just shy of the attacking edge of the centre square for the Dockers. Jackson palms it down once more to Schultz. Lovely hand pass onto Young. Chips inside forward 50. Tracy out. Couldn't quite take the mark. I reckon he spilt it. So does the umpire. We'll ball it up again, just in the right forward pocket for Fremantle. They lead 2-2-14. Power 2 behinds. 11 gone in the first. Certainly got hold of it. Had 2 grabs and didn't control it.
Ball comes down or flying through for the Power. Was Wines, couldn't take possession, ends up with O'Meara and he's shuffled over the boundary line for a ball in. 12 minutes played here, opening turn. The Dockers lead the Power by 12 as Jackson this time goes up against Finlayson. Finlayson tried to take it out of the ruck, couldn't. Schultz kicked it into a dangerous spot off the deck. Banfield couldn't take the mark, got away from Jones. Sturt able to go backwards, finds Frederick outside attacking 50 now the Dockers. Johnson kicks it to the hot spot at the back. Schultz can't mark, coming through Henry, rows it beautifully, snaps across his body. Kicks it narrow, minor score. The Dockers doing plenty of attacking early. 2-3-15, they lead the Power 2 straight behind, still yet to find a major. 12 and a half minutes played, opening quarter, Perth Stadium.
Farrell with the short kicking to Houston. Farrell runs by and then receives the hand pass for Port. Long kick towards the outer side of the ground. Spilled down, Lord got hands to it, gave it up to Horn Francis. Just got the kick away. Worked it on towards Marshall. He has it at left half forward for the Power. Kicks deep inside forward 50. Wants Powell Pepper through his hands. Under pressure from Warner. The Dockers get a hand pass away. Aish back to Warner. Broke one tackle. Just got away from a second. Handed it off in turn. This is Wagner kicking around the body. It's a good mark taken to Marshall again. 50 out from goal. Right on the logo, so slightly tighter than a 45-degree angle. He goes inboard and finds Houston, who we know can make the distance from about here. If he wants to boot, he'll have to go from at least 55.
He's backing himself too.
Absolutely. I've seen him kick a couple of these.
Match winner against Essendon back in round 16, of course. Here he comes, starting in the centre square, from the attacking edge of the centre square. This will need to go all of 60, and it got the carry, but not the accuracy. Missed to the right-hand side. Power 3 behind. Stock is 2-3-15. 14 gone in the first. Demons up by 8. 9 gone in the third at the MCG over the Hawks.
Every player on the ground was in the defensive 50 then for Fremantle.
Big cluster of players.
Ball gets cleared. Jackson flies from behind. Ends up taking the mark unopposed, really. No one really flew with the Dockers big man as he goes back into defence to Warner. Warner's kick further wide to Cox, who decides to go for a gallop. Kicks it outside defensive 50 now. Wagner wants to move it on. Kicks it into the path of Emmett. The debutant gets his hands on the ball. Has Henry around his outer side. Gave it to Henry, who dribbled a kick inside 50 to Tracy. Couldn't take clean possession. Emmett ripped off the ball. The Power have it back through Farrell. Kicks up towards Lord and Cox. Cox wins the race back but overruns it. Lord back on it now. Powell Pepper in there. Taps it to his advantage, but Aish there to intercept. Gave it to Cox. Tackled over the line. A little messy bit of play there, but it ends up with a throw in about 70 out from the Port Adelaide attacking goal.
Would have liked Emmett to kick that ball in a bit deeper. There was genuine one-on-ones. Fremantle had the advantage.
Tracy against Finlayson. Tracy's got the left hand to it. O'Meara going through, couldn't quite gather. Henry could. Hand pass to no one in particular across half back. Oh, big bump. Emmett laid that into the side of Houston. Solid collision. Came out towards Sarong. Hand passed in the middle of the ground. Picked up off the deck by Aish. Goes back again. Coming to Warner and fires the pass forward, and Amos is up and marking on the commentary edge of the centre square. Goes back by hand to Wagner, kicks inside forward 50. Anfield couldn't mark. Jonas can clear by hand away. There's Houston once more to Wines, to Burn Jones. They sweep their way forward. Butters on in turn again. Oh, great tackle on Jones. He got wrapped up. That's holding the ball. Jones had no idea that he was being closed down, and Wagner got him. Free kick to Fremantle in the middle of the ground. They lead by 13 points, 16 gone in the first.
Certainly not a packed house, but the Freo fans are up in voice early on. It's nothing to play for in terms of the season, but plenty to take into the off-season if they can get a big scalp here. Luke Ryan has the ball. Just forward of centre wing. Now kicks it inside the forward 50. Looking in front of those big marking targets. Aaliyah knocked the ball away. Got it to Jones. Now Butters, Port. Able to clear. Clever little kick. Outside defensive 50 found Rioli. So Rioli's kick short again to Wines. Has an incredible record against the Dockers. Has polled 9 out of a possible 12 Brownlow votes in their last few meetings as the Power switch play to the outer side, and the ball eventually ends up in the hands of Finlayson, who spills the mark and now tries to grab a ball. Was knocked off it. Powell Pepper competing for it with Pearce. Pearce able to take the ball over the line as the two tangle together. The West Australian playing in South Australia and the Tasmanian playing in Western Australia.
Interesting stat with the marks. Fremantle 26-9. They've had 77 disposals to 47. All thrown in again. It's Tracy who palms it down. Sarong over Rennet. Wines didn't. Picked it up. Got it back to Rosie. Will kick around the body. It was touched. Bounces over Schultz. Slapped on by Rioli. That was clever. Wagner was there to mop up for the Dockers. Gave it to Schultz. Kicked to the outer wing. Bergman wanted it. Got in front of Young but couldn't control the footy. It tumbles away from him and over for a boundary throw-in. Left half forward for Port Adelaide, who trail by 12. 17 gone in the first on Grandstand AFL.
So Ollie Wines, his last 4 games against Fremantle, 1 vote, 2 vote, 3 vote, 3 votes. He turns up when they play the Dockers. Port win the ball. Handball in front of Houston, couldn't gather. Butters came through, was knocked off it. Now the Dockers have the ball back, and Aish, beautiful kick out to the wing, finds Frederick. Frederick back into Aish, who continued his run. It was James Aish who picked up the 3 votes last time the two sides met, with 29 disposals as his kick went to Warner. His kick wasn't great. Wagner, had to get it back from Aish. Spins now in a spot at half-back, eventually goes wide to Ryan. The Dockers just struggling to work it through this Port forward pressure here just at this moment. Ryan short now to O'Meara. Port doing a good job of locking them down. O'Meara short up the wing. Sarong. The short socks on with a retro jumper today. Sarong played on his kick, was a shocker. Went straight to Houston for Port. Now they win it back through Dersma. Butters able to evade. Kicks towards half forward. Marshall has it 65 from home. Sees something he likes in the middle. Power Pepper stretches out one arm. Takes the mark. It was a great kick from Marshall. Perfectly to his advantage, and Power Pepper will go back 40 metres out directly in front.
Well, just skill execution there from Sarong. Tried to probably bite off a little bit more than he could chew. And as Port Adelaide, very good team, pounced on the turnover, really clean and great composure. Inside ball to Power Pepper.
He's having a great season, Sam Power Pepper. Hasn't missed a game. He's kicked 25 goals. This one is straight through the middle. He adds to his tally, and Port get there first. Almost 20 minutes played in the opening quarter. Port 1-3-9, trail Fremantle 2-3-15. Sharad, Kara, about time they found a major, I guess.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was desperately needed, but it was something that would probably get them going a little bit. They both came out with a lot of pressure, but I think Fremantle settled far quicker and were just able to get those deliveries inside 50 a lot cleaner, quicker. So we've seen the first one from Port now and them capitalise on it. I think we may see a little bit more of a settled contest from both sides now.
Second goal to Connor McDonald for the Hawks. Has seen them cut the margin to 2 points at the MCG. Melbourne are 8-6-54. Hawthorn 8-4-52. The Demons have responded immediately though. Terrible bounce in the middle. Getting back straight away through a goal to Jake Melksham. His third, 9-6-60. The Hawthorns 8-4-52. Will throw it up to restart. Jackson palmed it down straight to Switkowski. Oh, well done, Rosie. Said, you're not getting past me. Great tackle. Wrapped him up and he gets the free kick for Port. It's a tough job getting Switkowski like that. Did it beautifully, and then a fine kick out to Aliir, who marks and plays on the logo commentary side. Kick towards Bergman, 51 from goal at right half forward. Sent it deep inside forward 50. They've got flyers. Trying to get up there was Butters. Dersma in the area as well. Johnson picked it up and then stepped away from Lord and takes himself over the boundary line for a throw-in. Deep at left, full forward for Port. They're 1-3-9. They trail the Dockers 2-3-15. 21 gone in the first.
Dangerous position here for Port Adelaide. Ball tossed in. Lord able to work Jackson out of it. Couldn't take clean possession. Then knocked it forward. Sarong won it back for Fremantle. Gave it to Henry. Wagner runs into trouble. Gave it to Henry under pressure. Now to Pearce. Oh, stepped away. Interesting looking handball straight to the boundary. Ooh. Throw in. Gee, the handball. I'd love to see the replay.
There was a Fremantle player on the other side of the boundary line. So we'll give Pearce the benefit of the doubt there.
Very well done in the end by the Dockers captain, according to Sharad Wellingham. Jackson to the front of the stoppage, able to tap it down. Gee, Butters stole it, snapped it over his shoulder. He's kicked an absolute ripper. How good is this kid? Zach Butters levels the score 2-3, 15 apiece. Gee, he is special, isn't he?
That is a piece of absolute individual brilliance. Ball running away from him. Over the left shoulder, probably 180 degrees behind him, wasn't it? It wasn't even like a 90 degree. It was 180 degrees straight over his head. Knows where the goals are at all times.
He was actually free at that stoppage as well. Liam Henry ran past him, and I mean, an amazing goal, but you need to provide some form of body contact on a player like that, especially inside forward 50.
Catch Fodadar is downstairs.
A little bit of concern for Fremantle on the bench with O'Meara in that little hidden part of the bench area, getting a lot of work on a lower left leg issue.
Dockers get the clearance from the restart. Sarong kicks towards centre-half forward, bounces away from Sweetkowski, chased it up, hand passed on the bounce to Johnson. Kicks the Dockers inside forward 50. Burton attacked the footy, tapped it down, getting it towards Williams. His recent re-signing from Port kicked up and down on the spot towards left half back. Drew emerges with it to Butters. Chance to move forward. Rosie got the arms clear. Here's Butters again. Wonderful hand pass. Worked on towards Horne-Francis. Surrounded by Dockers. Somehow found a kick through. Lucky bounce. Just came away then from Dersma. Jackson goes to try to gather. Free kick going the Dockers' way. Player taken high. Jackson elects to play on. Moves it quickly to Switkowski. Sweeps the hand pass forward. Chance here for Johnson. Poor kick inside forward 50. Horne-Francis was there to mop up. And he'll move it short into the left back pocket. They can start again here, Port. An opportunity to go from there deep in the left back pocket from Williams. They are level on the scoreboard. 2-3, 15 apiece. 24 gone in the first.
Williams kicks to the wing and finds Aliir. Once again, numbers just slowly drifting back. Alir's kick up the wing was too hot for Rosie. The Dockers win it back. Ends up in the hands of the debutant Emmett. Tries to step around Aliir. Ran into a brick wall. Somehow got boots the ball inside 50. Sturt just tosses it out. Brayshaw shares it with Switkowski. Gets it back. Left foot kick towards the top of the square. And Ryan Burton able to get back, take the mark. Win the ball back for Port Adelaide. Goes short to Farrell. Now to Rosie. Still inside defensive 50. 25 minutes played. Scores level at Perth Stadium. Williams kick to centre half back. Finds Jonas. Has the run of Rosie. Takes the handball. Kicks it inside 50. Pearce does well on Marshall. Outpointed him. Took the mark. And goes wide to Johnson.
Johnson thought about going very quickly, then thought better of it. He's still at right half back. Now gets told to play on. Just trundles forward. Short pass towards the boundary at right half back. It's marked by Clark. Clark happy to soak up a few seconds as he assesses the options in front of him. He'll kick down the line towards right half forward. 2-on-2 battle here. Switkowski at the back. Jonas at the height advantage. Won it down at the front to Butters, to Dersma, to Farrell for Port. Kicked around the body and only found the chest of Young on the logo southern wing. Moves it into the centre circles. Here's O'Meara. Players streaming forward. Hand pass to centre half forward to Schultz. Hands it off to Ryan at left half forward. Ryan for the Dockers. Pumps it high up in the air. They come from everywhere, but the best placed player waiting underneath. Jonas, cool and calm, the Port captain marks, and he moves it short to Farrell in the left back pocket. Still scores level, 2-3, 15 apiece, 26 gone in the first.
Farrell short out wide to Williams. Dylan Williams, disposal number 6, goes outside defensive 50 to Dersma. Probably one of the forgotten young stars at Port Adelaide with the rise of Butters, Horne-Francis, Rosie, Dersma. Mistering a fair bit with injury as the kick from Port comes out to defensive 50. It was a dangerous one, but Aliir made it work. Now is able to swing the ball wide to Jonas. The skipper goes short over the top. Horne-Francis marks. Oh, the horrible kick into the man of the mark. Intercepted by Schultz. Gives it to Sturt. 65 from home. Looking for a target inside forward 50. Chopped off by Jonas. Switkowski back on it for the Dockers. Handball to Brayshaw. Set him a task. Had to stand up in the tackle. Handballed it away. Horne-Francis like a bull. He's diving in for Port. Now he's on top of the ball. Young's on top of him. How will the umpire see it? Holding the ball. He crashed in hard, Jason Horne-Francis, but he rolled on top of the ball at the wrong moment. Hayden Young got him cold and will go back, take the set shot and kick from, you'd say, right on the paint of 50 as the seconds tick down in the opening quarter.
Pretty unlucky there to not get the free kick himself, to be honest. Hayden Young came in accidental, but yeah, copped him high, and umpire obviously on the wrong position or wrong side of that contest.
Siren sounds, just 2 goals for his career, and in game number 56, Hayden Young, a move into the midfield, and not a move onto the list of major goal kickers for now. So a minor score gives Fremantle the lead at the first break, 2-4-16. They lead Port Adelaide 2-3-15. An enthralling opening quarter of football here at Perth Stadium.
And another first-term win for the Dockers now.
Another one.
5th of the season, 3 in a row from memory.
Yes, it is.
2-4-16. Port Adelaide 2-3-15. As Mitch told you, the goal kickers pretty simple. Luke Jackson and Michael Frederick for Fremantle. For Port Adelaide, Sam Palpepper and Zach Butters with a scintillating finish too for Port. Checking in at the MCG, the Demons lead that by 14 points over the Hawks. That's 24 gone in the third. 10-6-66 to Hawthorn, 8-4-52. And earlier today, West Coast by 7 points over the Western Bulldogs. The Eagles with their 3rd win of the year. Here at Perth Stadium, the Dockers by a point wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, or on the AFL Extra button, part of the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
We need to go now.
You're not kicking me out of my own home, Arthur.
Denise Scott and Matt O'Kine.
It's an assisted living village, Mum.
In a shiny new comedy.
Where would it go from?
Mother and son.
You haven't even mentioned my new mode.
It's hideous.
Cheeky, provocative.
What'll we do now?
And proves love is relative.
Looks like it's just you and me, Mum.
Believe me, Arthur.
Mother and Son.
That's more than enough.
Starts 8:30 Wednesday night on ABC TV and ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Young there, fortunately got it. Hand pass to Pearce in the centre circles. Didwell got the arms free. Moved it on to Aish. Kick inside forward 50. Unable to mark that time. Amos spilled out the back. Barrel run down by Frederick holding the ball. Free kick right in front of goal and 35 metres out. Michael Frederick boots across the top of the 50-metre arc. The kick's on its way. The crowd will tell you, Fremantle fans are up and about. They've got the first of the game.
Jackson to the front of the stoppage, able to tap it down. Butters stole it, snapped it over his shoulder. He's kicked an absolute ripper. How good is this kid?
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
It was a rhetorical question for Mitch, but the answer is pretty darn good, is how Zach Butters is, and that was just exceptional. What a goal it was. Good to have you with us wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL Extra button. It's the Dockers who kicked the first 2, then saw Port kick the next 2, and Fremantle lead by a point thanks to a behind off the boot of Hayden Young as the siren sounded for quarter time. What have you made of it? Cara Antonio and Sharad Wellingham, our experts on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, a nice hot start from both sides. I think that they were really keen to put pressure on and apply some hard tackles around the ball. It really felt like they were both up for the fight. And I think I said it during the quarter, I felt Fremantle settled into the game a little bit quicker and were able to control the ball. It felt like they maintained possession a lot better than Port, chipped it around, waited. Again, I think I made it during the call during the quarter, but they just waited patiently for the right option to appear, and that was their way that they were able to score. Then Port fought their way back in. They probably didn't have as much. I haven't looked at the stats, but the stoppage and clearance dominance that I thought that they may have been able to secure wasn't really there. I think they still got some decent inside 50s from the back half of that quarter, but I feel like Fremantle probably dominated most of the contested footy and possession and forward half position as well during that quarter.
Yeah, completely agree. I think Freo came out, controlled the majority of that quarter and field position. Their tackle pressure was awesome. They were sweating on all the Port players. They really had no breathing space, Port Adelaide, across the ground. They were winning the ball at the contest and spreading. They had an outer layer and were able to chain the ball out quite nicely. For me, they're +8 inside 50s, but a lot of them are shallow. So a number of forward entries, just skill execution for me. Get it in deep to the one-on-ones. You've got Jai Amos down there. You've got Tracy down there. Create contests. Invite your Smalls to get involved at ground level. But at times, Jai Amos is leading out of the square and Port Adelaide are just sitting back and the ball's coming to them. So they just probably need to get that mid to forward connection a little bit nicer. They've had a lot of the ball, but haven't been able to, I think, capitalise on their dominance across that quarter.
For those asking on the text line, 0437 774 774, thanks to Fremantle for letting us know. Players and coaches wearing black armbands today in memory of Liam Henry's great-grandfather. For those wondering about the black armbands, wearing them today, the Dockers, in memory of Liam Henry's great-grandfather. And again, thanks to Fremantle for letting us know. Mitch Turner's got all the stats in front of him. Mitch?
Some of the numbers individually for both sides. Fremantle first, the home side. Corey Wagner leading the way, 12 touches. They've been a great contributor since coming back into the side. A host of players with 8. Jordan Clark, Liam Henry, Matthew Johnson, James Aish and Andrew Brayshaw. For Port Adelaide, Connor Rosie with 10 touches leads the way. Zach Butters with 9 and that incredible goal. Kane Farrell, 8 touches as well.
Ken Hinkley at quarter time was demonstrative, would be a good way of saying
okay.
it. Wasn't throwing the arms around, but certainly was letting his players know that he wasn't happy about something.
Just quickly, that disposal count, 123-88 in favour of Fremantle. The inside 50s, 15-7. The clearances 9-6. So as Sheridan Kara, you just spoke about the numbers, backing up what the eye is telling you.
Demons by 13 points. A second goal to Jacob Van Rooyen, giving them a bit of a break on the Hawks. That's 30-minute mark of the third term. Underway in the second quarter here. Jackson palms it down for the Dockers. Ball up into the air. Young gathers under pressure. Houston was providing it. The hand pass went to Horne-Francis. Did well to break a sarong tackle and get a kick away. Clever from Byrne-Jones. Tapped at the Butters. Back to Wines. Kicks inside forward 50. Marshall. He marks 45-degree angle to the right and 40 from goal.
Oh, just really nice leading pattern there from Marshall. Beautiful kick inside to the advantage of the forward and a really nice mark.
Nice bit of flash touchiness by Byrne-Jones as well, just to not take possession, knock it onto his teammate's chest and keep the ball moving.
A little bit of razzle-dazzle from the former defender. Here is Todd Marshall. 32-14 for the season. Their leading goal kicker last year. Boots cross the 50. Kicks on its way. It's going to miss. It's out to the right. In fact, it's missed the loss. Out of bounds on the full. Port heading to the Farmer Freeway end. Perth Stadium, the left of our broadcast position in this second term. And the Dockers will have a free kick through Luke Ryan at left fullback. No change to that score. Freo by a point. Opening minute, second quarter.
Ryan kicks the ball beyond defensive 50. Aliir did well to work his way to the front. Couldn't mark. The Dockers have it through Sarong and now Henry. Kicks up the wing, looking for a one-on-one contest. Banfield knocks it down. Amos, a long way from home on the wing. Kicks a low spearing ball. Frederick did well to take it on the half volley. His handball, though, didn't favour Banfield. Did well the Fremantle forward to knock it on to his advantage. Frederick was met very solidly, has gone down, and so too has a Port Adelaide player late in their defensive 50 as a good mark is taken by Horne-Francis. Now there is a Port Adelaide player still down, Clint.
Burton has remained down and just seemed to drop. The big hit came from Butters beforehand. Burton, I'm not sure what happened, but I think he's in real strife. I'll keep an eye on him.
Ball back up with the ball up on the wing. Horne-Francis did well, got it to Dersma for Port Adelaide. Kicks it towards half forward. Pearson Marshall wrestling. Powell Pepper comes through for the crumb. Couldn't take possession. Going in hard was Wines. Back to Marshall. Gives it to Dersma. Cut through the traffic. Oh, Powell Pepper had a fumble inside 50. Then dive back on top of it. Ryan's got him. The umpire says again, you can't lay on the footy. And it's holding the ball. Fremantle win it back. And Luke Ryan will take the free kick inside defensive 50.
Burton's up. Still no idea exactly what happened to him. And the replays we've seen so far were All close on the ball for the free kick as it goes to the outer side of the ground. The Dockers look to emerge with it, and they do so through Switkowski. Moves it to Tracy. Hand pass back to Switkowski. Bounces twice in front of him. Gathers and then steps inside Houston. Still on the southern wing. The Dockers through Sarong. It was meant for Aish. Was able to get it down towards Young. Back to Aish. Hurried kick towards centre half forward. Chomped off by Farrell. And has it and goes to Butters, who moves it short to Houston. So still unsure as what happened to Burton, but he was down for a good 10 to 15 seconds. The trainers went to him, slowly got up, and he's got himself back into the fray as Port move it across their back line.
So Port looked to switch the ball. It's a dangerous kick to Bergman. Schultz tunnels him a bit, gets away with it. No, the non-officiating umpire blew the whistle, called the block. So Bergman will have the free kick on the wing for Port Adelaide. Still unsure as Burton now takes possession inside his defensive 50, plays on and kicks it wide. So for the time being, seems okay after an innocuous hit as Dersma now kicks it towards half forward. Horn-Francis up in front, had to be strong, got it down to Marshall. His kick to half forward was looking for Rioli. Jackson was there to knock it away. Aish dances around a couple of opponents, or Henry's kick into the middle was dangerous. It was too dangerous. It's stolen back by Wines.
Fremantle doing a really good job of getting numbers back to block up their inside 50 options.
Ollie Wines has it in the middle of the ground. Handballs to a running Burton. Kick into the pocket, looking for Lord. Got away from Ryan. Couldn't take the mark. Ball stayed in, flirting with the boundary line. Handballs to Darcy Byrne-Jones. And the snap towards goal smothered by Jordan Clark. Offhands out of bounds for a throw-in.
Three-quarter time at the MCG. Demons by 13 over the Hawks. All spun back into play. Jackson got a hand on it. Came down towards Powell Pepper, who's hit the deck. Looks like he might have hurt his shoulder. He stayed down for a moment. Finlayson kicks around the body towards full forward. Lord was coming one way. Coming the other was Pearce, and it's a free kick to Port.
I reckon he might be winded, Powell Pepper.
Yeah.
Flying arm.
He's sucking him in.
Yeah.
Ollie Lord, meantime, has been given the free kick, as I mentioned. He'll go back and he'll be able to shoot on goal from no more than 25 metres out. It's about a 45-degree angle to the left.
Clear free kick there. Ryan just grabbed his arm.
7-8 for the season in his 10th game. For Port Adelaide, Ollie Lord's in. And Lord kicks the goal. Hallelujah, says Port Adelaide. And they take the lead for the first time since the opening seconds of the game. 3-3-21, 2-4-16 the Dockers. 5 gone in the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, just watching the replay, Powell Pepper incident, looks like he may have just copped a errant elbow into the ribcage potentially. Always going to knock the wind out of you. Nice set shot. So did you say 8-6 from his first 10 games?
7-8.
7-8. Pretty good number of shots on goal in your first 10 games. You happy with that?
He's a big man, isn't he?
Yeah, he looked really confident through that conversion as well.
Yep.
197 centimetres tall, 92 kilos, just 21 years of age. So
promising.
Certainly a
good bloodlines, I'll tell you about in a moment.
Yeah, he's got a lot to do in the absence of Charlie Dixon, as Jackson was able to win it for Fremantle and give it to Young. Emmett on debut takes the mark on the wing. His head strapped up. I told you before the game, he likes to go in hard. The 21-year-old as he goes short to Brayshaw. Brayshaw plays on. Kicks it inside forward 50. Jackson is there, so too Tracy. Off hands, falls to Jackson. Taken in a tackle by Jones. He picks him up off the ground and just held him in the air. Lockie Jones, it's a ball up inside forward 50. Jackson tries to tap it away. Sarong coming through, handballed it straight to Jonas. His clearing kick was a good one and found Rioli outside defensive 50. Takes the mark. Port able just to slow it up now.
Ollie Lord, by the way, as I was mentioning, grandson of the 62 Brownlow medalist and 63 Geelong Premiership player, Alistair Lord. As Port come down the commentary wing. Chance here to set something up. This is Dersma towards left half forward. Numbers fainted the Dockers. Finlayson wasn't happy about how it was delivered. He had a player behind him in Ryan, a player in front in Cox, and it's Cox who marks for the Dockers. He's able to stab the pass forward to right half back, making a metre or two. This is Clark. Wants Aish. Dangerous kick, but it was precise. Houston was in the vicinity. Aish was able to mark uncontested. Kicks towards the southern wing. Goes forward of that. And then marked by Henry. The bright orange boots on again today. Henry for the Dockers. He's got players free if he wants to go inboard. He'll do so now. Again, precise pass. Gets its way towards Aish. They're coming off the Fremantle at the moment. Aish from the attacking edge of the centre square. Puts it into the left forward pocket. Flying Jackson. Couldn't mark. Front position. Putting his body on the line was Horn Francis. Came down to stir. Kick straight into traffic at full forward. Tracy hands it back. Here he is, the debutant. He snapped around the body. Went straight into the chest of Aliir. Like the goalkeeper standing in front of the goal line. He was able to snaffle it and then put it out to Drew in the right back pocket. No change to that score. 3-3-21 the Power. 2-4-16 the Dockers. 9 gone in the second.
Jonas short to Wines. Fremantle just couldn't kick the ball above head height as they were trying to find the goal. And young Thomas Emmett, his eyes would have lit up for a brief moment, but Aliir was back there, and now he has the ball again, kicking outside defensive 50 to Dersma. Broadcast side of the ground. Dersma's kick up the wing's a pretty good one to Powell Pepper. He takes a strong mark. Has a man over the top, free at half forward, Rioli. He's got numbers inside forward 50. Kicks to the advantage of Finlayson, and he takes the mark. They had numbers out, they had time, they had space, and Finlayson will get to go back and have a shot for goal number 1. Pretty much directly in front, 35 metres out.
Pretty precise, quick transition from the defensive 50. A couple of really nice kicks to open space, but the work rate from Powell Pepper, Dersma, Rioli, all just timed really perfectly into the inside 50, bringing it inside the corridor.
So after Fremantle kicked the first 2, Finlayson gives Port 4 goals in a row. And they extend their lead out to 11 points, 10 minutes through this second quarter here at Perth Stadium for ABC Grandstand AFL. Sharad Wellingham, Cara Antonio, our experts here in the box.
Well, you mentioned it just then, Shaz. They don't overuse the ball, Port Adelaide. They're number 18th in the comp for disposals, so they clearly just want to go direct as quick as possible, and it works. They got Fremantle on the counter-attack. They were almost guarding space there, some of the Fremantle defenders, and were able to hit up Finlayson on a nice hit-up lead, but Rioli had a few options.
Yeah, three options, I think.
Yeah, and he decided to go a bit longer, which was the right one, and Finlayson, beautiful set shot on goal.
But the thing that Fremantle will be most disappointed with that one is it's transitioned all the way from the defensive 50.
Especially deep in their forward 50 as well.
2 goals either side of quarter time. Got caught up. They lead by 11 points, and they'll get the clearance again. It comes from the boot of Butters, or beg your pardon, Rosie into the right forward pocket, trying to get to it. Here's Powell Pepper, and then taking it over the boundary line. Under pressure, it'll be a throw-in, about 35 around. There's a Docker down. Cox have copped a little knock to the head in all of that. He's up, but holding the side of his head. Seems okay. The ball to be spun back in. Jackson against Lord. Jackson palmed it down. Powell Pepper went after it, couldn't gather. Cox could for the Dockers to Ryan. By hand, Ryan tumbles a kick beyond defensive 50. Jones will get back there first. Clever hand pass coming by Burton. He'll kick it out towards left half forward, and Wines, the Brownlow medalist, stretching and marking. Has it, well, too far out to score from here. It's probably 80 from goal, right up against the boundary line. Wheels backing with the right, kicks towards the teeth of goal, and then going out towards it, and then surely marking it. Yes, it was paid eventually, was Warner, and he has it at full back for the Dockers. Port lead 4-3-27, the Dockers 2-4-16, 12 gone in the second term on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and Sport Digital.
Warner's kick outside defensive 50 came off hands, and Lear was taken in a tackle, just dropped the ball. Jai Amos got him. Once again, though, the Fremantle leading goal kicker is a long way from home, just outside right half back. Now called to move it on. Kicks up the wing. Looking for Jackson. Finally gets a run at it. Knocks it down to Sarong. Gave it to Henry. Shared it with O'Meara. Got it back into the middle for Aish. Has a runner in Young. He's got another runner in Clark. We know he likes to go long. This time he goes wide inside forward 50. and finds the chest of an outstretched Schultz.
Great bit of ball movement. We spoke about it at the start of the game. Fremantle look dangerous when they get the ball in the corridor and then go forward, and a couple of risky kicks and decisions, but they've paid off, and nice spread and running pattern from Schultz to get it on the fat side of the ground.
You could really see what they were trying to do as well, trying to get into the hands of Young and Clark, get the ball moving a bit quicker.
Was the best player on the ground last week in the Derby. Lockie Schultz makes his approach. Kick is going to be short, shallow, off hands. Will go out of bounds for a ball in just next to the goals for Fremantle, deep in attacking 50. Well,
not according to the coaches' votes.
Well, equal best, was he not?
He was.
He was equal. So he was equal best in the medal voting. One on countback.
He was indeed.
Equal best for the coaches as Hayes knocks it down to Bergman, taken in a tackle by Emmett. Ball goes out of bounds again. Same spot on the ground, deep in Dockers attacking 50, trailing the Power by 11 points. They've kicked 4 straight.
There's no way of knowing which coach went to 4 as well, is there?
No.
You can kind of work out which way the votes are split, but not that well.
Thrown in again. Tracy won it down, straight back towards the boundary line. Gives it a good argument, perhaps finding 2 Glendenning Allen medals for Jackson and Schultz. I'm just putting it out there.
We're not going through that again.
4-3-27.
I think a count back is better.
No.
Oh, don't say that, Sharon. You fire him up.
We'll talk post-game, Sharon. Tracy palms it down. Butters, hand pass, intercepted, brilliantly done, Sarong. Handed it off to Henry from the right forward pocket. Kick won't quite have the carry. Spilled down. Banfield had an air swing. A swing and a miss. It's chaos on the goal line. I think Port have rushed it over, but we're going to send it upstairs after all of that.
Was it fresh airy?
Yep.
I reckon that was a complete fresh airy.
It's been split.
And Jonas has been crunched in that. Oh, my goodness. There is blood pouring from the face of the Port Adelaide captain as they send this upstairs for a score review. Jonas has tried to rush it through. Coming the other way was Burton, and Banfield was there. He's had a complete fresh airy, Banfield. And then, it's friendly fire. Burton has collided with heads of Jonas. No wonder there's blood pouring from him now. And the ball's hit the post on the way through anyway, so it's just going to be a minor score out of all of that. The Dockers could have had a goal.
Why is there a review? Like the goal umpire, hit the post between his legs. How does he not know that it's...
Oh, they'll review that, but not last night's one.
Exactly. That did hit the post.
Oh, clash of heads, Burton and Jonas. That's ugly. Hope he's all right.
Skin's pretty thin up on that top part of your head.
4-3-27 Port, 2-5-17 the Dockers as Port bring it quickly back into play, and they come to Farrell, who's between fullback and centre halfback.
So the chaos clears for a moment. That was an interesting minute or so of footy as Farrell goes to right halfback. Burton plays on, dances around Banfield, kicks a good kick into the middle of the ground, and Rosie.
Such a damaging play, that.
Wanted a runner, gave it to Houston coming past his kick. Too hot for Marshall. Pearce gets across, cuts it off, knocks it out of bounds right on the 50-metre junction at right half forward for Port Adelaide.
Houston's decision then is just such a damaging decision to make because it opens up the open side, but also their ability to go fast off it as well.
Ball tossed back in. Hayes doing the ruck work, knocks it down. Brayshaw hacks it off the deck for Fremantle. Schultz able to get away for Houston. Taken to ground in a strong tackle. Players dive in. The umpire will ball it up. Between centre wing and half forward for Port Adelaide as the ball gets thrown in the air again. Hayes wins it down for Port Adelaide. Drew handballs to Rosie. Kick now towards forward 50. Goes out off the side of the boot. And the crowd cheers as the chest mark is taken by a punter in row 1. Ball was smothered though, and will be another ball in right on the junction at right half forward for the Power.
They lead by 10, 17 gone, second term. Tracy does the ruck work, palmed it down. Ryan's there, got taken high, surely. And eventually one of the umpires spots it. Trying to duck away from Powell Pepper definitely got him around the neck. So Ryan has the free kick for the Dockers in the left back pocket. Head downstairs in just a moment as Ryan kicks towards the southern wing. Attacking the football. Amos, no, he went with him. He was able to jump and fly in front of the pack. Drags down the mark. Dockers kicking into the breeze as they head towards the city end of the ground in the second term. To the right of where we're broadcasting on the northern wing. The kick is to Banfield. Sweeps the hand pass forward to Brayshaw. Sweeping hand pass forward again to Schultz. Hands it on to Switkowski. Inside the attacking 50. Heads towards goal. It bounces through. 3 Port players couldn't get near it. It continued on its run. And the Dockers in a run of 4 unanswered goals from Port Adelaide. They kicked their first since the 10-minute mark of the opening term. Fremantle, they moved to be 3-5-23. Port of 4-3-27. 19 gone in the second. Before we hear from our experts, Akash Bodadars downstairs.
After having a little bit of treatment and his head looked at on the bench, the Port skipper Tom Jonas has now gone down to the rooms with the doctor.
Sharon, you were shaking at that one.
I'm a little bit concerned at the lack of desire to get that touched on the line from Port Adelaide.
No dive or anything?
No dive. I think it was... Bergman was down on the line there, wasn't he? And it's like he was afraid to get his jumper dirty or something. Didn't want to jump. Could have thrown himself at that ball.
Well, he did.
Great goal from Switkowski.
Unfortunately for Port, it's a Fremantle goal as the ball's back in the middle. The big man Hayes does well. Was able to win the clearance. Kicks towards the forward 50 and Powell Pepper. Overrun it. Horn Francis runs onto the ball. Kicks on goal and puts it through. 3 goals last week to Jason Horne-Francis. This week he gets himself on the board again, really starting to come into his own. So the Power answer straight back. They push the margin back out to 10 points. 5-3-33. The Dockers 3-5-23. 20 minutes played. Second quarter here at Perth Stadium.
Just loose checking from Aish there, wasn't it? Horne-Francis was in a game mode where he's just tracking the ball, tracked it really well to the next contest after it's gone over his head, and Aish just 5 or 6 metres off, not close enough, and then a beautiful finish across the body.
Goal from centre bounce as well. They're known for that. Really good work.
Super efficient, aren't they?
Yep.
14 gone. The final term at the MCG. The Demons lead is 15 points over the Hawks. From the restart, Hayes wins it down. Chance to surge forward through Butters. Hands it off to the run of Rosie. He arches the back, gets away from Brayshaw. Kicks towards right full forward. It bounces and through for a minor score. Well done from Pearce. Actually making sure his opponent wasn't able to get anywhere near it and was happy enough to see it through for the minor score, knowing where it would bounce. 5-4-34 Port, 3-5-23 the Dockers. 21 gone in the second term. If you just joined us, West Coast by 7 points over the Bulldogs earlier today.
Ryan's kick, a clearing one to the wing. Jackson knocked it down for the Dockers. Gave it to Switkowski. He gave it to Frederick. Oh, ball knocked out in the tackle. Umpire said he dropped it. Maybe a little harsh, but Port Adelaide win the free kick.
It was definitely knocked out in the tackle, so it's good pressure from Wines, but it's the first holding the ball I think we've seen from Port, where the pressure from Fremantle, we've seen a couple.
Wines goes inside 50. Cox flew high for Fremantle. Falls to Marshall. His kick out of bounds on the full. Is that the second time Marshall's kicked it out on the full today? It might be. Doesn't have the radar on. Fremantle win the ball back, and Luke Ryan can go take 2 with bringing it out of defence. As he does the same thing, kicks long and high to the wing, looking for Amos and finds him.
Getting a lot of marks, but as you said, they're a long way up the ground, aren't they?
Having to come a long way to find the ball, Jai Amos. Handballed it off to a running Brayshaw. His kick short up the wing to Switkowski. Wants to move it on quick. Uses Frederick. Trying to find a player over the back inside 50. Oh! Players diving in everywhere. Huge contest. The ball ends up at the back. There's a high tackle called. It's going the way of Lockie Jones. He caught one from Thomas Emmett.
I don't know how there wasn't
that
a more brutal impact there.
4 players all eyes for the ball as well.
Ooh. Sam Sturt flew in with just no regard for his own or anyone's safety, and luckily it's all avoided, but Lockie Jones has the ball for Port.
Houston and Lear coming from opposite angles as well. There's a lot going on. Everyone lucky to get away with some serious injury. Kick beyond defensive 50. For Port, Ryan gathered, sent it back inside forward 50. Jones tackled by Emmett. Umpire says it's okay. They play on Port. I think even Rosie thought there might have been a free kick for a moment. He stopped and he finds Williams in front of goal. A switch of play from the left back pocket to the right. Williams moves it short to Butters. Green boots on, hands it back to Williams with the more traditional black defender's boots. Kicks right in the middle of the ground. Oh, Wagner dropped what he should have taken. Drew's able to dive on top of it, tried to slap it back to Marshall, got tackled, lost it. Horne-Francis wasn't able to do much with it, neither could Warner. And then spills out towards Finlayson. Stepped around one, then two for Port. From the centre square, kicks inside forward 50. Coming out to mark is Powell Pepper, right in front of goal. He got to the drop of the foot, he timed it perfectly and could go back and have a shot from the top of the arc from 50 out.
Number of fumbles, few players slipping over, costly in that part of the ground. Powell Pepper just read the ball in the air, played in front, and really nice mark.
Looking for his second goal of the day, Powell Pepper. He's on his way in from 49 out. He gives it a real ride. He likes it, wheeling away. He celebrates with his teammates. And now he'll head straight to the bench. He's got a couple. The Power have got 6. 6-4-40 to 3-5-23. 24 gone in the second term. Port with back-to-back goals again.
That's goal 24 for the season for Powell Pepper, that must be.
26, I think, now.
27,
you're right.
That is a great season from him, isn't it?
Goal 99 for his career as well.
Really become one of the most dangerous half forwards, forward pockets in the league, in my opinion. Doesn't need to have a lot of it and can have an impact on the game.
Coming back here to the west, playing in front of them, sure. Friends and family in the crowd from Wesley College in East Perth here. Sam Powell Pepper. The bounce in the middle, an absolute shocker. We've seen a couple already today. Umpire will recall it and have to throw this one up. Port Adelaide out to a 17-point lead as we're back underway. Ball knocked to the advantage of Horne-Francis, gave it to a running Butters. His kick out to the wing. Puts it in front of Drew and Brayshaw. Brayshaw gets there first. Trying to win possession. Drew's all over him. Gets the tackle. Ball eventually rolls off hands out of play. Brayshaw pleading for a free kick, but there was none forthcoming. A boundary throw in on the wing, slightly favouring Port Adelaide's attacking end of the ground. Toss back into play. Jackson to the front. Tapped it down. Butters dives in. Young on top of him. Another ball up. 26 minutes played here. Second quarter, Port Adelaide leading by 17. This time it's the Dockers. Young gives it to Sarong. Then gave it to O'Meara. Has ample space on the wing. Wants to kick it over the back. Was looking for Emmett. Went to ground off the ball. The umpire has paid the free kick. Thomas Emmett will go back and have a set shot for career goal number 1 in game number 1.
It's just a block, it looked like, off the ball. Have to see the replay, but he fell to ground and umpire was in the right position. God, wouldn't this be a kickstart again to gain the momentum back for Freo if the debutant can go back and put it through.
The headband on the head already cut. He's had to overcome so much, Thomas Emmett, to get to this stage, but he's here now, and the crowd roars, welcome to the big time, Thomas Emmett. The Fremantle players come from everywhere. What a story. Diagnosed with cancer at age 16. He fought through that. He snapped his Achilles the year after. He fought back from that. Drafted as a mature age player, Thomas Emmett gets his first goal in AFL football. And Fremantle cut the margin back to 11. 4-5-29 the Dockers. 6-4-40 to Power. Second quarter, 27 minutes played.
Great to see that, isn't it? The joy of your first goal in footy, having an impact. He's had the 6 to 7 disposals.
That's just unbridled joy. Marvellous to watch. Some concerns downstairs for Jai Amos. We'll get the cash to keep an eye on that from the restart. Jackson palmed it down. O'Meara, well tackled, wrapped up by Rosie. Just got it out, though, to Henry to Sarong. Sweeping hand pass forward. Gathering on the run was Switkowski. Tackled by Houston. Got the ball out. Henry was there at the drop. Evaded one. Snapped around the body. It'll bounce in the goal square. Banfield. Oh, remarkable! That's as remarkable as you'll ever see. No fresh Harry this time. Falling backwards. Threw the boot at it. Conjured up one of the most ridiculous goals you've ever seen. They will send it upstairs, I'm sure, just for the Arc to have a look at that and go, how on earth has Burton got the slightest of touches on it with the right arm?
Has it hit his bicep?
Maybe.
Umpire's call was a goal, so...
Do you know that's reminiscent of? Alan Didak. Do you remember the one he did in the goal square? Body up against his opponent, owning the space and throwing his boot at it.
It's the overhead kick. Wayne Rooney, Tim Cahill, they would like to own that.
That's what I was thinking. Wayne Rooney in the Derby. Or the Derby.
There's your sense of theatre, Arc.
And there probably was enough on the side-on angle to see it's brushed the bicep of Burton on the way through.
Crowd not happy at all.
It's the most remarkable miss behind touch you've ever seen. Just 1 point on the scoreboard. 10-point ball game. Power in front. 6-4 plays 4-6. 29 gone in the second.
Well, after all that, the ball comes out to the wing and Jackson takes the mark for the Dockers. He gives it to Clark. He'll send it back inside forward 50. Can something special happen here now? Ball punched away towards the boundary line. Beats Switkowski there. Goes out of bounds for a throw-in. It's the best point since Boomer Harvey's point of the centuries. Replay goes up. A cash for Tatar quickly downstairs.
Yeah, Jai Amos is headed down to the rooms now. It looks like a right hip sort of issue that was bothering him. He was on the bench for a while and has finally gone down to the rooms.
We'll keep an eye on that as the ball's spun back in. Hayes knocks it back towards the boundary. Rosie tracking it there. Can't keep it in. Out of bounds for another throw-in deep in Fremantle's attacking 50. They're still upset they didn't go with the theatre of the moment, the Arc.
There'll be no theatre for the Arc at the moment.
Definitely not as the ball's back into play. Jackson knocks it down. Drew sharks it for Port. Kicks an outside defensive 50. Cox did well to outbody Finlayson and take the mark. Once again, so many numbers inside Port's defensive 50s. He goes in with a kick. Cutting across was Bergman. Couldn't mark. Gave it to Alir. Now Wines. Tried to get through 2 tackles. Couldn't get through the second. And he was wrapped up by Josh Tracy. He'll win the free kick. Go back. Set shot. 35 metres out. Slightly worse than a 45-degree angle to the right.
Just good forward pressure there. Again, a good entry because there really wasn't any loose players to hit up. Got it in deep. Created contest. And then pressure came from those at ground level.
Just 13 goals this season, Josh Tracy, but he's starting to look better and better every week. That, not his best effort. Kick slides across the face for a minus score. Fremantle 4-7-31. They trail the Power 6-4-40. 31 minutes played, second quarter here at Perth Stadium.
Demons by 27 points at the MCG now. 13-9, plays 9-6 over the Hawks. That's with 25 minutes gone in the last. I'm just going to come back here. Chance to build again from Rosie. He'll flare it out. Bouncing away from Jones. He just drags it down. Left half back right next to the boundary. Kicks to the commentary wing. Jackson allowed it to bounce against Hayes. Gathered, gave it to Cox for Fremantle. Hand pass down the line. Here's Clark and he stabs it forward. And that's half time. With Port Adelaide leading by 9 points. 6-4-40 to 4-7-31. The goal kickers for Port, Sam Powell-Pepper has 2. Butters, Finlayson, Horne-Francis and Lord, the other goal kickers for Port. While for Fremantle, all individuals, Jackson, Emmett, a goal on debut. He joins that elusive 4th kick, first goal club. And Switkowski with the other as well. Bailey Banfield with just one of the most miraculous behinds of all time. And unfortunately, it was the right gun, if you like, of Ryan Burton that shot that down. It was more luck than good management, just brushing the bicep on the way through towards goal. You'd have seen that time and time again. Not to be, the Arc said no. 6-4-40 Port, 4-7-31 the Fremantle Dockers. Quick score check at the MCG before we hear from our experts. Demons by 27 points there. So they're 13-9-87 to the Hawks 9-6-60. And repeating earlier today, a third win of the year for the West Coast Eagles. 14-8-92 to 12-13-85. Beating the Western Bulldogs by 7. Huge win for the Eagles. A game that also has massive ramifications for the Western Bulldogs, who now, with them outside of the top 8, a game behind GWS, will know that they need to defeat Geelong in Geelong and need Carlton to beat the Giants next week if the Bulldogs are to play finals. It's been a great finish to the season.
With a couple of percent to make up.
Ah, okay. I haven't done those sums yet.
So Western Bulldogs sitting on 105.
Let me have
GWS are on 107.
So GWS on
other way around.
107.
Other way around.
Bulldogs on... Sorry, GWS on 104. No. So the Bulldogs at the moment, you would assume all they'll have to do is they're the other way around. Yeah. So the Bulldogs will go back ahead of them if the Giants lose to Carlton, because you can't get a percentage boost if you lose. So they're fine. Anyway, let's have a little chat about what's going on out here. It's been willing, it's got to be said, between these two sides. Fremantle with nothing really to play for. You wouldn't know it the way they've been getting stuck in today, but the Power had the advantage. They turned a 1-point deficit at quarter time into a 9-point advantage at the main break. Premiership player Sharad Wellingham, All-Australian and AFLW captain with the Fremantle Dockers, Cara Antonio.
Yeah, it's a hot contest out there. I'm really enjoying the way both sides are going about it, especially, as you mentioned, Clint, from Fremantle. Nothing really to play for in terms of finals, but they've come out, pressure's been elite, +6 in tackles. They're getting their hands on the ball a lot more than Port. I did mention throughout that quarter, though, Port are known for not over-possessing the ball, getting it in quickly as possible. But again, for me, really, it's the uncontested possessions and the contested possessions for Fremantle. They're absolutely dominating. So they're winning it at clearance and then they're getting on the outside. Nice spread. Probably just not making the most of their opportunities going inside forward 50. Port have had the 6 marks inside forward 50, with Fremantle only the couple. It's really their smalls getting to work at ground level. They've had a couple of free kicks where they've been able to capitalise, and really, we spoke about it at the start of the game. Port Adelaide, really good stoppage team, really good clearance team, and have been able to kick the 3 goals too from stoppage, which has probably been the difference, especially from centre bounce. Their guns are getting a lot of the ball. Rosie, we thought that potentially Young went to him, but he's up to 15, 16 touches as well. Butters is the other one that's got his hands on the footy. Really, it's anyone's game. I know it's 9 points, but it doesn't feel like to me, Shaz, that Port are dominating like we probably thought that they would. And I mean, again, the scoring, Freo have had one more scoring shot than Port, so it probably should be a little bit closer. But
and Fremantle, just looking at the score sources, Fremantle have actually had 7 shots from stoppage, which is really probably damning on Port Adelaide that they're enabling them to have that much of a look at it from stoppages when you really should be nullifying anyone's impact from a stoppage.
They've clearly done their homework because they know Port are specialists in that area.
Jackson dominating the hit-outs, 17 hit-outs. I think he's just giving them a really good look, but also around the ground, I feel like Jackson's been quite damaging, not only at turning it over when they're exiting their forward 50, so when Port are bringing it out of Fremantle's forward 50, he's doing a really good job at setting up. I don't know if he's a spare or he's just working really hard to space, and he's intercepted a few of Port Adelaide's exits. But as we made mention during the call, the lack of marks inside 50 for Fremantle at the moment is because I think Amos is having to come up to almost centre back to find a release valve for them, and he's taken the 3 or 4 marks all the way up there, forward of the wing almost, which is just way too far. we've become accustomed to seeing him taking those marks 20 to 30 out, and that's where I think Fremantle need to have him relocate himself. Let the big kahuna get up there and take those marks all the way up the ground. That's what he's really good at. We've seen him be part of the play further up the ground, but hasn't really had that impact around contests and taking contested marks. So maybe they're just not. Maybe it's either side of the ground. They're not really playing that kind of swivel that well, and maybe they're just kind of playing across the ground. Really like to see Amos be able to find his way back. If he is getting up the ground, work back towards goal and be that presence deep inside the forward 50.
It'll be an interesting one to see how he goes with that hip complaint and if he comes back out, because if he doesn't, they're going to probably have to look Fremantle at a different look up forward, and they're not tall at the best of times down there. So what's their method going inside forward 50? Is it more trying to hit up the short ones and get the lead ups? Because they might lack a bit of tall presence down there to actually clunk a few marks. So
I think they need to find one of either Tracy or Amos inside that forward 50 and have presence for them to win a contest first of all, or if they're not going to win it, kill it and bring it to ground and let their forwards get to work.
Well, it says right, because there's no one really deep to kick to at the moment, because you're right, Amos is coming out getting up high, which is a defender's dream. That's fine. He can take marks all day up on the wing, but really it's that next one inside. Who's holding into that deep space that can be a presence and create a contest or take a mark? So it'll be interesting to see what they do in this second half.
Very quickly, before we head to the newsroom, let's head back downstairs. Akash Fodadar's got some news for us. Akash?
Thanks, Clint. Yeah, as we saw in that second quarter, both Fremantle and Port Adelaide had players go down to the room for treatment. Firstly, for Port Adelaide, the skipper, Tom Jonas, passed his head injury assessment on the bench and went downstairs to get some stitches and will resume in the second half. And for Jai Amos from Fremantle, it was treatment on a hip issue, but Fremantle said he's all good to go and will also be back out playing in the second half.
Good on you, Akash. Certainly more from Akash, who's had a bit to do in this first half. A very thoroughly entertaining and willing contest between Port Adelaide and Fremantle. Full time at the MCG, the Demons by 27 points, 13,987 to the Hawks 9,660. But if things remain as they are, the Demons will stay in fourth spot. Port Adelaide sitting there at the moment. If they win this one, they'll remain in third on 64 points. But there is a half to come. Fremantle, I reckon, will have a bit to say between now and then. Let's pause with Port leading by 9 points at Perth Stadium and take the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. The Foreign Minister Penny Wong has laughed at suggestions that only union members will get jobs linked to the AUKUS nuclear-powered submarines. Senior government ministers have told Labor's National Conference in Brisbane that thousands of union jobs will be needed to build the submarines. However, Senator Wong says that just reflects the reality of unions being very well organised.
I don't recall that ever being part of our procurement processes, but my point is I think the unions are a very important part of the tripartite approach to making sure we improve our national capability, which is what AUKUS is about.
Queensland Police have praised the efforts of two neighbours who rescued a man in a house fire in Brisbane's east. The home was destroyed and two more damaged when the fire broke out in Hawthorn just after 8 o'clock last night. A 66-year-old man is in a critical condition in hospital. Inspector Stephen Newland says the neighbours acted bravely and selflessly.
The neighbours did rescue the male who was engulfed in fire. They obviously acted selflessly to try and aid the person and then render first aid at the scene. It would have been very confronting and challenging for them. I understand that other neighbours also attended other neighbouring properties, fearing that the occupants were home, but fortunately the neighbouring properties either side were vacant at the time.
Firefighters battling massive blazes in Western Canada have received help from reinforcements and milder weather, but there are fears that conditions will worsen again in the coming days, with drier and windier weather forecast. Larry Buttrose has the latest.
It's Canada's worst fire season on record. There have been nearly 6,000 major fires across the country this northern summer. They've destroyed buildings, burnt out tracts of forest and prompted evacuation orders for tens of thousands of residents. The Western Province of British Columbia is under a state of emergency. Currently, the blazes are being kept out of the provincial capital of Yellowknife in northern Canada. But its 20,000 people are gone, ordered to leave on Friday. Now firefighters hope predicted worsening conditions don't exacerbate an already dangerous situation.
There's been fresh unrest in the occupied West Bank following the shooting killing of 2 Israelis. Israeli settlers threw stones at Palestinian homes and set fire to vehicles while troops tried to restore order and extinguish fires. Israeli security forces have launched a manhunt following the shooting. The leader of the coup in Niger has issued a defiant message to other West African nations seeking to intervene there. General Abdurrahman Chahini says Niger doesn't want war, but all of its 26 million people will rise up against any military intervention. His statement comes after a meeting with a delegation from the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, which is demanding a return to civilian rule in Niger. Back home, and police are searching for a man who allegedly sexually assaulted an 18-year-old woman on the New South Wales mid-north coast. The 18-year-old was dragged from a Port Macquarie street last week and taken to some nearby sand dunes. Detective Inspector Peter O'Reilly says she was walking to watch the Matildas semi-finals match.
She was going to meet friends. We're aware that there were a lot of people in the area at the time for that live broadcast, so we would like to think that there are people in the community that may have information. Again, it might be phone footage, it might be dash cam footage that would really assist our investigators.
Excitement is building ahead of the Women's World Cup final in Sydney tonight, with both English and Spanish fans enjoying the moment. Danuta Kazaki has the story.
Fans of the Lionesses gathered on Sydney's Manly Beach this morning, barracking for their team. One English fan says the women's team have done better than the men's team.
The men must be really kicking themselves right now. What a platform for women's football.
Spanish fan Angela says Spain has done really well to get to the finals.
I am more excited than all these British, they are shouting, but in Spain we're passionate about football.
Transport for New South Wales has urged ticket holders to use public transport to get to Sydney Olympic Stadium for the 8 p.m. kick-off.
The West Coast Eagles have staged a huge 7-point upset win over the Western Bulldogs in round 23 of the AFL. The Bulldogs led at the final change. However, a 3-goal final quarter by Jamie Cripps helped the Eagles regain the lead for the rest of the game. The loss for the Bulldogs has cost them the chance to return to the top 8 heading into the final round of the home and away season. The result has lifted West Coast above North Melbourne, who now occupy last place on the ladder. ABC News.
Since time began, humans have asked the big questions.
Does feeling cold make you more likely to catch a cold?
Is my phone secretly listening to me?
Should you keep the tomato sauce in the fridge? Any question you ask, these humans will find you the facts.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Whatever it takes.
How long do I have to stay?
What the FAQ starts Wednesday, August 30 on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Banfield sweeps the hand pass forward to Brayshaw. Sweeping hand pass forward again to Schultz. Hands it on to Switkowski. Inside the attacking 50. Heads towards goal. It bounces through.
Back in the middle, the big man Hayes does well. Was able to win the clearance. Kicks towards the forward 50 and Powell Pepper. Overrun it. Horn Francis runs onto the ball. Kicks on goal and puts it through. Young gives it to Sarong. Then gave it to O'Meara. Has ample space on the wing. Wants to kick it over the back. Was looking for Emmett. Went to ground off the ball. The umpire has paid the free kick. Thomas Emmett will go back and have a set shot. He's had to overcome so much, Thomas Emmett, to get to this stage. But he's here now. And the crowd roars, welcome to the big time, Thomas Emmett.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Whatever happens, that Tom Emmett moment is the feel-good story of the game so far. Taken at pick 41 by the Dockers in last year's national draft. He's been fighting his way through for selection. Overcame a very rare subtype of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as a teenager. Survived and recovered from that. And then had to, battle back from Achilles tendon and collarbone injuries before he was able to string enough football together to get drafted. Well done to Tom Emmett on debut, a goal. All the other numbers are in front of Mitch Turner, the one that matters. Port lead by 9 points. What are the other ones to us, Mitch?
The disposal count still favouring Fremantle. We look at the team stats, 200 to 165. The contested possessions, 62 to 51, also favouring Fremantle at this stage. 54 marks apiece. The inside 50s, 26 to 18. The hitouts, 22 to 12 the way of Fremantle as well. The tackle count going Fremantle's way as well, 26 to 19. The clearances locked up at 16 apiece. Individually, the disposal getters for both sides. For Fremantle, Liam Henry leads the way with 16 disposals. Caleb Sarong, 15. Luke Ryan and James Aish with 14 apiece. For Port Adelaide, Zach Butters continues his impressive season. 16 disposals, along with Connor Rosie, the two young guns leading the way as they do most weeks. Kane Farrell and Ollie Wines with 11 disposals apiece. But as you say, Clint, 6-4-40, Port Adelaide, 4-7-31, the Dockers. The stat that matters most, the Power, leading by 9 points.
Clint Wilden with you alongside Mitch Turner in commentary. Both teams back out on the ground. The Dockers warming up to the right of our broadcast position. The Power to the left in front of the goals at the Farmer Freeway end. A gentle reminder, those results earlier today. Melbourne by 27 points, 13-9 to Hawthorn's 9-6. While the West Coast Eagles, as you heard a couple of times and throughout the news, 7-point winners over the Western Bulldogs for just their third win of the season. The Bulldogs will now have to do it the hard way, going down to Geelong and winning, and hoping, of course, that Carlton can roll GWS. As we welcome our listeners joining us from the Melbourne Hawthorn game to Perth Stadium, half-time, and the Power leads 6-4-40 to Fremantle, 4-7-31. At quarter time, it was the Dockers by a point. It's now a 9-point lead to Port Adelaide. And the goal kickers for you for Port, Sam Powell-Pepper has a couple, Zach Butters, Jeremy Finlayson, Jason Horne-Francis and Ollie Lord. And for Fremantle, Luke Jackson, Tom Emmett, Michael Frederick and Sam Switkowski. Wondering about who Tom Emmett is. On debut, this youngster from the Sturt Football Club, taken at pick 41 in the 22 national draft, 21 years of age. Makes his debut today for the Dockers. He certainly goes hard at it. Has already had to have a bandage wrapped around his head after contact in a battle, and gets a goal on debut as well. Clint Wilden in commentary alongside Mitch Turner. It's a cool afternoon by Perth standards, about 18 degrees. A breeze that is most definitely favouring the Farmer Freeway end of proceedings. A few clouds in the sky, but no rain is expected. A crowd somewhere in the vicinity of about 35,000 for this battle between Fremantle in 14th and Port Adelaide in 3rd. Port needs a win. A percentage-boosting win would certainly give them a push and perhaps the opportunity to go past Brisbane, with all that ahead of Brisbane playing St Kilda in the final game of next week. But to keep themselves in that mix and hope for a top 2 finish, Port simply have to win today. Their percentage at the moment has gone from 111% to 111.3. So you would imagine that even with victory today and in their final game of the year when they head across to Adelaide, the percentage is probably not going to be enough to get past Collingwood. Meantime, though, Port with Richmond to come in Adelaide. Let's head down quickly. Akash Vodadar is downstairs.
Fremantle have made a substitution at half-time, and it is Jager O'Meara who is out of the game with a calf injury, and Neil Erasmus is into the game.
Thank you, Akash. So Clint Wilden alongside Mitch Turner, our experts. Premiership Pie in Sharrod Wellingham, and alongside him, former AFLW Fremantle captain in Cara Antonio. Bailey Banfield almost kicked one of the goals of the season, an overhead bicycle kick in the goal square that just brushed the arm of Ryan Burton on the way through. That was spectacular.
Too many on the field.
We just had to pause. Yep, Port
didn't read the board at the half-time break.
Yep, so what's going on here? And slowly they have been able to make that change, getting someone off at the last minute. Port lead by 9, 6-4-40 to 4-7-31. Let's get it started. Mitch Turner with you on Grandstand AFL.
Ball back underway in the middle of the ground. Jackson got the tap. Henry was able to gain possession, then gave it away. Players dive back in. Ball still in the centre square. Neither side able to get a clearance just yet. Ball goes back up again. Hayes taps it down to Wines, taken immediately in a gang tackle by Sarong and Young, and not going anywhere. So another ball up again. Repeat stoppages. Hayes taps the ball over the top. Sarong sharks it for Fremantle. Kicks it forward. Looking for Sturt. Did well to knock it away from Jones. Then got the handball back to Schultz. His handball missed. Sturt on the return. Able to gather. Go back. Give it to Johnson. Now retreats again to Schultz. The ball on the wing for Fremantle. Aish kicks inside forward 50, looking for a target. Can't find one. Bergman knocks it away. Then gave it to Rosie. Taken a Brayshaw tackle. Holding the ball.
Great tackle, wasn't it?
Fantastic.
Full pace, lunging after him, ability to bring him to ground there. Rosie, extremely hard to tackle. But Brayshaw just
and he's so explosive and
tackle.
quick, isn't he? So Brayshaw's done really well there to close that space and impact really, really well.
Just managed to get a hold of his hips and bring him down.
It's just tackles with such intensity. Andrew Brayshaw has already had one crack at goal today. Couldn't make it count on that occasion. Can he do it this time? No, he can't. Fremantle get the opening score of the second half. But unfortunately, it's a minor score. 4-8-32 the Dockers at 6-4-40 the Power. 2 minutes played, third quarter per stadium.
Williams with the kick in. It's a thumping one too to the outer side. Lords there, hand pass over the shoulder. Socked forward by Wines off the deck, only as far as Clark. Has it for Fremantle, sweeps it to Brayshaw at right half forward, spears it inside forward 50. Gathering it beautifully was Williams, came out, scooped it up. Not a great kick to the outer side. Missed Lord. Powell-Pepper ran over the football, had time to turn, immediately met by two Dockers. Aish got him along with Ryan. Umpire eventually will ball it up. Cash voted downstairs.
Ryan Burton, who's been in the wars a bit today, has started the second half on the bench and just had some heavy strapping applied to his left knee, and he's just trying to do some run-throughs now.
Hayes palms it down. The Dockers shark it away. It came from Young and then moved it on to Henry. Kicks to left half back and finds Ryan. They had to backtrack the Dockers on that occasion. Comes to Aish now at centre half back. Fremantle look to set something up here. They lead, or trail rather, by 8 points. 3 minutes gone in the third.
Aish short to Clark. Gain a lot of territory. The ball still just beyond defensive 50 for the Dockers. Clark now called to play on. Swings it wide to Ryan. The Dockers now going wide with the ball. Brayshaw further afield. So the wind still howling in favour of the Dockers this quarter, but they trail Port Adelaide by 8 points. The Power looking to fight for a top two spot still as the ball goes up to the wing. Power couldn't mark it on that occasion. Horne-Francis ran into a brick wall. Sarong gets the free kick.
It's almost like the wall fell down on him as well.
Sarong's kick into the middle of the ground finds Clark further afield with the switch to Johnson. He has Cox running from defence out wide. Has the ball, two kicks from home. Runs around and plays on. Now he sends it inside forward 50. Can he find a mark? No, Aaliyah did well, worked his opponent out of it, took the mark and switches the ball into the left back pocket to Dersma.
Port's lead, 8 points. 4 gone third term. Chance here to go on a short run from Dersma. To beyond defensive 50. Wanted Horne-Francis. Ryan went up from behind him, put the knee into the back to give himself elevation. Couldn't complete the mark. It spills to ground. It's locked in. Ball up.
He set himself a long way back from that too, didn't he?
Thrown up. Hung down by Hayes. Ball bounces around. Wines put his head over the football, but a hand pass out the sign. Horne-Francis thought he was taken high. Umpire says no. Saron tackled him to ground. It's a ball up again. Still at right half forward for Freo.
Dersma looks a little bit proppy as well from that mark down in the pocket, so just keep an eye on that.
Jackson at the back. Fingertip touch against Hayes. Spill down to Farrell though. Kicks Port towards the southern wing. Port with plenty of players here. Rioli tries to get after it. Can't quite get there himself. It spills the way of the Dockers. Rioli forced to do the tackling. Wrapping up Wagner. Ball up on the logo. Southern wing. Eventually the Rucks get there. Hayes and Jackson palmed it down. Can you get it away here, Port? Wines with the clearance. Kick towards left half forward. Lord against Ryan. They both go to ground. Lord gets up, tried to knock it forward. Spills through a pack. Ryan worked it out for the Dockers. Got it to Henry. He'll kick down the southern wing. Amos tries to meet it. Couldn't gather. Alir's behind him. Mops it up. Ugly footy at the moment. His kick was meant for Farrell. Stretching, couldn't mark. Frederick couldn't gather. Bounced off the shin backwards of Brayshaw. Comes again to Wagner. Now it's with Clark of the Dockers. Spun out of trouble. His hand pass missed Henry. Oh, this is not great. And Henry sees it over the boundary line for what will be a throw-in. If you've just joined us from Melbourne Hawthorn, apologies. The first half was quite enthralling. Start of the third term, well, it'll get better. Here's Mitch Turner.
I'll back you up on that. It was a good first half of footy. That, not the best minute or so here at Perth Stadium as the ball's tossed back in. Hayes knocks it down to Rosie, tackled off it. Now Dersma kicks it high up and under towards half-forward Ashby Rioli. Ball comes off hands out of bounds. Dersma was a little proppy again after that last contest. So too Brayshaw. Ball will be tossed back in right on the 50-metre arc. Left half forward for Port Adelaide. Comes back into play. Ball goes over the back off the ruck knock. Comes out to Rosie for Port. Kicks it high towards the top of the square. Marshall did well to get a fist in and knock it down. Aish went without it. Now diving in is Johnson for Fremantle. Players dive in on him. Port Adelaide players wanted a free kick. Wasn't there. Ball up. 15 metres out from Port Adelaide's attacking goal. They lead by 8 points. Tap down. Horne-Francis went without it. Finlayson's kick smothered. Burn-Jones in there. Somehow crafts a kick off the outside of the boot. He's celebrating. Or is he? There's taps on the head. There'll be a score review. Darcy Burn-Jones somehow crafted a kick off the outside of his boot.
Umpire's call was touched as well, so going to have to be pretty definitive. It's going to have to be definitive.
It's the hand of Alex Pearce in question. Now the frame we're seeing, it's just out of frame.
Looks like
it's coming.
Here we go. This is the
forearm bit.
It doesn't look clear, does it, that it's touched it? But the umpires would say has called.
I reckon it's flicked his right arm, right forearm.
Yeah, forearm there.
You just see a little shake on the forearm, on the wrist.
See the ball?
Yeah, he flicks his thumb.
Yeah,
even.
the ball turns.
Yeah, it deflects. So, clear deflection, no goal to Port Adelaide, a minus score, 6-5-41. They lead the Dockers 4-8-32, 8 minutes played. Third quarter here, Perth Stadium for Grandstand AFL.
Let's head downstairs. The cash voted up.
Port Adelaide have made their sub. That knee is causing too much of an issue for Ryan Burton, and Travis Boak is into the game.
Kick on defensive 50 for the Dockers. That's a nice mark to Cox. Moves it on. And they'll come down the commentary wing. Oh, dear. Has that stayed in play? Only just. That's a shocking kick from the boot of Erasmus. His first involvements after being brought on as the sub for Jager O'Meara.
It's always been his Achilles heel coming through. Just needs to clean up his disposal.
Those subs have been activated. So Boak's on and Erasmus from the throw-in. Another ruckman got a telling tap. Sarong gathered, tackled strongly to ground, wrapped up beautifully. Butters got him. Ball up will be the call, just forward of the wing for the Dockers. Wait for the rucks to arrive. Here they are. Jackson palmed it down, but it went straight to Horne-Francis. Kicks the power towards centre half forward. 2-on-2 battle. Marshall on hands. Spilled down here. McEntee back to Marshall. That's a clever kick for Rioli. He worked it around the body, Marshall, and he knew Rioli was heading towards goal, and Rioli has marked for Port no more than 30 metres out. He's almost directly in front.
Good from Marshall. He was the one that competed in the air and then followed up his work. Such a nice kick to a dangerous spot, and Rioli was on the same page and a good mark.
Was a premiership player when he played here with West Coast in 2018. Willie Rioli, 35 metres out. He kicks the goal for Port. They've got their seventh. 7-5-47. The Dockers are 4-8-32. 10 gone in the third term. Grandstand AFL from Perth Stadium. Clint Wilden alongside Mitch Turner in commentary. Our experts, Sharad Wellingham and Cara Antonio.
Yeah, Marshall, great contest. It was a reasonably smart kick from Horne-Francis as well, because there was no clear option. So I don't mind it when the mids put it up, and at least you know you're going to get a contest more often than not when you put it up higher going inside forward 50. Enabled the contest to happen, and then Marshall, a great intelligent kick over Rioli's head. Rioli obviously feeling very comfortable back here at Perth Stadium.
Certainly provided a number of highlights during his time at the West Coast Eagles here, and finding the scoreboard again. Ball back in the middle. Butters got it to Houston. Was able to release Finlayson, who spread from the contest. Kick back inside forward 50 for Port Adelaide. Goes out the back. Marshall trying to track it down. Does. Handball a little hot for Rioli. Has to go back outside forward 50 and find it. Gave it to Drew. Kick to the contest. Oh, Powell Pepper off hands. Ran into a tackle. Got the kick away, but couldn't get enough on it. Henry takes the mark just outside the defensive goal square for Fremantle.
What about the tackle from Wagner? Wouldn't let him go.
He's not an easy man to tackle, Sam Powell-Pepper. And those Port Adelaide small forwards are starting to look dangerous. The kick comes outside defensive 50 for Fremantle, knocked off hands. Tackle made by Switkowski on Farrell, and the ball will be tossed up just outside Port Adelaide attacking 50.
Jackson went up, didn't really get a touch on it. Umpires spotted a free kick. Being kept out of the contest was Jackson. We'll get the free kick for Fremantle. You've just joined us. They're wearing their retro jumpers from 2001 to 2005. The tri-panel anchor, it's called. White anchor down the front, bottom of purple. Left side is red, right side is green. The kick towards Hayes. Couldn't take the mark. Just on the commentary wing. Spilled out to Johnson for Fremantle. Gave it to Schultz. Hand pass went behind Johnson. Mopped up by Butters. And he ran into Emmett and got knocked over. He'll get the free kick. I beg your pardon? No, I thought it was going his way, yes.
Pointed the wrong way originally.
Yeah, I did point the wrong way.
I get confused sometimes. Here he is, Butters, going towards the logo. Able to find Hayes, who marks just on the inner edge of it, commentary side. Not a great kick, but it bounced in front of Williams. Tries to get around Schultz. His kick was smothered by Schultz. Up into the air. Jones couldn't get there. Brayshaw could. Gets it for the Dockers. Great hand pass, spotting Emmett, and he bursts away. Takes a bounce, runs to centre half forward, kicks over the top to full forward. Getting there, Tracy has the hand pass back. Ali did really well. It comes to Frederick, and he takes it over the boundary line at right full forward. Just when it looked like Tracy was about to be able to get a shot away, Alir has done enough. And the ball will be thrown in right full forward for Fremantle. They trail by 15 points, 13 gone in the third.
So ball will be tossed in. Deep in Fremantle's forward 50. Tracy and Hayes to the ruck. Hayes knocks it down. Got it to Bergman, then Boak. The sub on the ground, got it to Drew. Handballs off to the run of Rosie. Port Adelaide kick it long down the wing. Contest forms. Freo had the numbers, but Finlayson won out. Was able to gather. Beautiful kick into the path of Houston. He's 55, 60 from home. He can go the journey, but he has a man in the pocket, spots him. And it's McEntee, left forward pocket in the blue boots. Will go back and have a shot for his first.
Another full ground transition from Port, all the way deep in their defensive 50.
The kick from Finlayson to Houston was an absolute beauty.
And really good decision at the contest. Knew he wasn't really going to impact it, so just snuck off the back of it.
Jed McEntee to stretch Port Adelaide's lead out even further. He does so. Straight over the goal umpire's hat. Port get their eighth. 2 in a row to start the third quarter. 8-5-53. They lead the Dockers by 21 points, 4-8-32. 14 and a half minutes played. Mitch Turner here with you in commentary. Clint Wheeldon alongside me. And our experts, Premiership Pie, Sharrod Wellingham, former Fremantle AFLW captain Cara Antonio.
Well, you mentioned it, the kick from Finlayson inside to Houston. Ripper kick, but Houston's ability just to wait for it to unfold to see what was ahead. Dockers defenders straining back and
almost catching them off foot when they're trying to run to cover space.
Correct, and not
cutting it back across and going the opposite side makes it really hard to kind of watch the ball and the opponent.
Smart kick.
Outgoing Dockers chairman, Alcock, just on the big screen, sitting next to the AFL Commission chairman in Richard Goyder, a former Dockers board member, is trying to get it forward to his Rosie from the restart. His hand pass intercepted by Tracy. Hand pass back into traffic. Houston had it. Williams broke one tackle, couldn't quite get away from Schultz. Holding the ball's the call. Schultz will have it and take the free kick for the Dockers. Fredericks all on his own in the right forward pocket, and he marks. It's about a 45-degree angle to the right, and he'll put boot to ball from 45 out.
It's a good transition from Frederick.
Yeah, did he pick it a bit quicker, the free kick?
I
Maybe
think so.
Port Adelaide players not realising that the free kick was going to Fremantle, and he's just scooted away inside forward 50.
Michael Frederick looking to become the Dockers' first multiple goal kicker today. Starts the approach. Freo could well do with this. Frederick has just been able to sneak it through. It was fading left. It's through for a vital major for the Dockers. 5:8:38 to Port Adelaide's 8:5:53. Fremantle. I'm not beyond saying they desperately needed that. 17 gone in the third term on Grandstand AFL. ABC Radio Sport Digital. And today on the AFL Extra button on the ABC Listen app.
That was off the back of Lachie Schultz. We know how good he is with his pressure inside forward 50. Just inside the centre square there. Was able to create the turnover, and then a really nice smart kick to Frederick, who got out the back of his direct opponent.
Ball back in the middle of the ground. Bounce favours Hayes slightly. Bangs the ball out to Rosie, but he's run down by Switkowski holding the ball. The Dockers with a few holding the ball calls going their way today with the run-down tackles. This one on the wing, just outside the edge of the centre square. It's Switkowski with the ball. Kicks towards half forward, looking for the lead of Amos. Couldn't take the mark. Knocked it down. Drew was able to gather for Port Adelaide. Gave it to Bergman. Handball further afield to Boak. His handball in the path of Farrell. Met with contact, lost it. Amos came in, taken in the Farrell tackle. Umpire will ball it up right on the boundary line, far wing. Get down to a cash for Otatara in just a moment with an update from the boundary as the ball's tossed back into the air, knocked into the path of Drew for Port. Handballs to Houston. Turns around his body, kicks to a leading horn. Francis hit the pack hard, paid the mark, now plays on. Kicks inside forward 50. The kick though read well by Alex Pearce. He'll take off galloping out of halfback.
Pearce looks to come towards the commentary wing. Marked there by Banfield. He'll stop and then pop it over the top to Henry. Perfectly weighted pass. Henry marking the ball coming over his right shoulder. It dropped away from his opponent in Dersma. Sends the ball back inboard. Oh, stepping off his line. He'll need to get this on quickly, Wagner, and he does so now. Get towards left half forward. Marked there by Schultz. Schultz into the left forward pocket. Frederick out. Good spoil. Jones got his fist just in front. Knocked it over the boundary line. 51 out from Fremantle's goal. Left half forward for the Dockers. Kicking to the Farmer Freeway end of Perth Stadium in this quarter. Wait for the Rucks to ready themselves. It's Tracy against Hayes. Boundary umpire, very short throw in. They hurry to get there. Tracy palmed it down. Got it onto Butters. Port sent it high up into the air. Bad kick from Dersma. Then hacked forward here by Lord, on the bounce towards the commentary wing. Clark got in front. Knocked down by Rioli. Still Port try to knock it forward. McEntee involved. Onto it quickly is Butters. Gathered it beautifully. Handed it back to Boat. Couldn't take it cleanly. Clark was there to mop up. Hand pass to Schultz, or hand pass should be intercepted. Butters goes out after it. Attacking edge of the centre square for Port. Fremantle, well done Wagner. They can bring it away. Emmett's involved. Here goes H.
H sends it towards half forward, looking for the lead as Sturt finds him. Still a kick and a half from home. Has Banfield short on the lead. Low spearing ball off. Straight through Banfield. Couldn't take the mark. And Port Adelaide clear through Williams to the wing. Oh, and they get a favourable bounce. The Dockers had the numbers. Finlayson got the ball, but he gave it straight back to Fremantle anyway. And Clark, dancing on the wing, slips over his own feet. Now sells a teammate into trouble. He's tackled. Port Adelaide win it back. Now Fremantle, it's just ping-ponging it around. Warner taking in a tackle. Eventually ends up at the feet of Powell Pepper. He's trying to gather. Diving in is Warner. I have no idea what was happening in that passage of play, nor do the players. That was messy.
There's a power chant starting to rise from the Farmer Freeway end goals. And Port get the clearance out to Finlayson, gives it to Drew, left half forward, kicks Port in to the left forward pocket. Pearce in the best spot. Takes the mark. Has it in the right back pocket for Fremantle. There's options to switch. Schultz has run a long way to get himself clear at left half back, and Pearce has no interest in looking that direction, so he'll head towards right half back and up to mark. That's a great grab from Jones. The luscious locks flowing as he leapt into the air. Goes short, back to Houston. Marks just in front of the logo southern side. Short on to Williams, and that's where it goes, into the centre square, just forward of halfway. Every player forward of Williams at the moment. Williams will get told to move it on. Where does he send it? Straight up the corridor towards full forward. Powell Pepper flew, came from a long way back, got hands to it. Couldn't mark Rioli, worked it back to Powell Pepper under pressure from Erasmus. Gathering it though, Wagner for the Dockers, kicked around the body. Trying to chop it off there was Amos. Short hand pass into traffic. It's going to be locked in. Butters does the tackling. He gets Johnson. It's at left half forward for Port, who lead by 15, 21 gone in the third.
Ball tossed up just outside Port's attacking 50. Jackson got it to Sarong for the Dockers. His kick up, looking for the run of Sturt. Alir dropped the mark. Sturt won it back. Kicks across, attacking 50 to Schultz. He's just outside. Has a man wider in Frederick. Takes the mark. 49 from home. He can kick a long ball at times, Michael Frederick. Now he's got someone over the top. Switkowski the kick. Chopped off by Alir. Bounces all the way back out, attacking 50. Back to Frederick. Throws it on the left, top of the square. Miles Bergman takes a strong mark. Port Adelaide have it back. And he's able to go short to Jed McEntee, still inside defensive 50.
Fine defensive mark for Bergman. Here's McEntee stabbing it beyond defensive 50 to right half back, and Houston marks. Leading disposal winners. Butters has had it 21 times. On the ground, Henry 23 for the Dockers. As the ball's back to Jones for Port between fullback and centre half back. Moves it to Williams. Will kick beyond defensive 50 to Alir. He's at right half back. Chips it forward. Now to Farrell. Slow procession here from Port. Farrell's kick. Went for Wines. Couldn't mark. Alir knocked it forward. Wines gathers. Tries to hand pass to himself along the boundary line. He's battling with Brayshaw. The ball decides it's going to take a right-hand turn and tumbles across the line between centre wing and right half forward for Port. 8-5-53 Port, 5-8-38 the Dockers. A cash voted ours downstairs.
Port Adelaide have been a player short on the bench for about 4 or 5 minutes now, with the skipper Tom Jonas still down in the rooms with the doctor.
Had that head clash earlier that he was bandaged up for. His Horn Francis wins the ball at the stoppage, takes a bounce, shows the pace, kicks inside to Butters, couldn't mark. McEntee gave it to Finlayson. Curling snap around the body is perfectly through the middle. And Port's leading goal kicker this year has his second. The Power extend their margin back out to 21 points. 9-5-59. They lead the Dockers 5-8-38. 24 minutes played. Third quarter here at Perth Stadium for Grandstand AFL.
Some absolute class and brilliance from Horn Francis to collect at that pace through the stoppage. Bending right down, running full pace, one-handed scoop, but then presence of mind. I mean, Switkowski's not slow.
No.
Presence of mind to say, look, I'm going to take some ground and then find an option inside the forward 50. You could see the Port teammates recognising it as well, getting around him.
2001 to 2005, these Guernseys. Isn't that right, Clint?
Yep.
Fremantle, 1 win, 5 losses against the Power in that time.
And here he is again, breaking from the centre.
Oh, he's a machine today. Takes 2 bounces, runs to the wing. He could take a third if he wants. Instead, he goes short to Drew, who can't mark. Spills out the side. Butters worked it on. and then kicking towards goal and missing as Rosie out to the left-hand side.
Nearly a bit of globetrotter then, the handball from Butters, blind over the left shoulder.
9-6-60 to 5-8-38 as the Dockers move it short up the corridor. Cox is able to find Brayshaw, who can turn and then kick towards the commentary wing.
Kick out looking for the small target in Switkowski. Ball knocked away by Farrell out of bounds for a boundary throw-in, as we see the Port Adelaide skipper walking past this contest with the doctor or the trainer there. Head still very much bandaged up. Probably a few stitches under there from the earlier clash. Jackson and Hayes do battle. Shallow ball in. Jackson just got a hand to it. Ball bobbled back to him. Henry gave it to Sarong for Fremantle. Handball into the middle of the ground for Schultz. Tackled by Darcy Byrne-Jones. Did well to get it to Sarong. Oh, that is a dangerous tackle.
Wow.
He was driven forward, Sarong. The umpire paid holding the ball. He certainly had prior, but we've seen those tackles go the other way this year. Would love to see the replay. Either way, Port Adelaide.
I don't know if it was overly dangerous, but it was probably in the back.
So the kick goes into full forward, off hands of Cox. Port Adelaide have it. Finlayson kick on goal. Can't make the distance. Lord's kick back, looking for Rioli. Didn't have it. Held without it. Umpire said no. Ball goes out of bounds. It was definitely in the back, the tackle. And he drove him forward pretty hard.
He did. Finlayson a little bit too unselfish there. Do you think he had to just kick the goal? Tried to pop it over to Lord.
Another shot.
Ball spun in right forward pocket for Port. Heading to the city end of the ground. Finlayson palmed it down. Brayshaw tried to get a clearing kick away. Comes here. Back to Butters. Butters' kick was smothered. And clearing away. Switkowski. Bergman's underneath it. Can't mark up against Amos. Amos had two goes. That's not a mark. He looks to play on. Gives it to the Dockers. Captain in Vice Captain in Brayshaw comes towards Schultz, works it inside forward 50, tackled his Banfield, could have been pink for throwing the ball away anyway. Port clear towards centre wing. Here's Henry. Oh, that's a dangerous pass to a 2-on-1. Sarong's done really well just to win it to ground. Butters was there though. Mopped it up and kicked towards right half forward. Wanted Powell Pepper. Jackson in front sees it over the line for a throw-in.
Intensity over the last couple of minutes has been great from both sides. Tackling, chasing, putting themselves in position in the contest.
What a 9-6-60, Freo 5-8-38, 27 gone in the third.
Ball tossed back in. Hayes trying to punch it forward, went straight into the chest of Henry. Ends up with Sarong now. Back for Henry for the Dockers. His kick at Tumbler went through a few players. Back with Port Adelaide. Butters taken in a tackle. It was high from Henry. Fans don't like it, but it was a little clumsy. Butters will win the free kick.
This intense last couple of minutes, they look a little bit out on their feet.
Bailey Banfield hobbling to the bench for the Dockers, or getting Cash Fodatar to check back in shortly how he's going. As the Butters kick goes inside forward 50, Clark did well to work Powell Pepper off it for Fremantle. The captain, Alex Pearce, sees it out of bounds. Ball in, 40 metres around from the Dockers, or the Port Adelaide goal. They've done most of the attacking in this second half so far. Toss back in. Jackson able to work Finlayson out of it, but tapped it straight to him. Finlayson's handball to Rosie. Normally very good from these spots, for the kick wasn't good enough. Marked in the goal square by Luke Ryan. The Dockers win it back. Port Adelaide lead by 22 points. 29 minutes played, third quarter.
Ryan goes short and finds Young in the left back pocket. Earlier today, West Coast by 7 over the Bulldogs and Melbourne by 27 over the Hawks. Here on Grandstand AFL, as Young kicks high and long, gone defensive 50 to left half back. Sturt was up, so too Tracy, off their hands. Comes down to Switkowski, kicks into space on the commentary wing. Howe should get there first, Bergman does. Picks it up, sends it forward to Port to Dersma. Again, high up into the air towards right half forward, but only Young really wanted to fly for the football. He does so and marks, steps off his line. Rosie went towards him, gets a kick away though, and Henry, right up against the boundary at left half back, takes the mark. He'll send it back to Ryan inside his defensive 50. Henry with 26 disposals in the game so far. Leads all comers, Butters with 24. As Ryan goes back to fullback, and Clark marks as the siren sounds for three-quarter time. That has Port Adelaide leading 9-6-60 to Fremantle's 5-8-38. 38. It's a 22-point lead to the Power at the final change. They trailed by 1 at quarter time, led by 9 at half time, and now lead by 22 after kicking 3 goals to Fremantle's 1 goal 8. Before we hear from our experts and anything else, let's head downstairs. A cash photo though.
Bailey Banfield has ice on left shoulder, left collarbone area sitting down the bench, so it doesn't seem like he will come back on today. It looks quite sore actually, really favouring the left arm. Yeah, with ice on that left collarbone area.
Thanks to Cash. The goal kickers for Port Adelaide, 2 to Power Pepper, 2 to Finlayson, and singles to McEntee, Lord, Horne-Francis, Rioli and Butters. While for Fremantle, 2 to Frederick, singles to Jackson, Emmett on debut and Switkowski. Repeating earlier today, the Eagles by 7 points over the Bulldogs and the Demons by 27 against the Hawks. Three-quarter time at Perth Stadium. It's the Power, 9-6-60. To the Dockers, 5-8-38. Wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app, look for the AFL Extra button. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC Listen.
A Russian chef marches on Moscow. The Thai military attempts to hold on to power and prop up an oddball king. And an American ex-president stores classified documents in a toilet and a ballroom. Those plans all backfired, didn't they? I'm Matt Bevan. Join me for a new season of the podcast, If You're Listening, helping you make sense of major news events shaping our world with new episodes weekly. Hear it right now on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Jackson palmed it down, but it went straight to Horne-Francis. Kicks the Power towards centre-half forward. 2-on-2 battle. Marshall spilled down here. McEntee back to Marshall. That's a clever kick for Rioli. He worked it around the body, Marshall. He knew Rioli was heading towards goal, and Rioli has marked for Port. No more than 30 metres out. He's almost directly in front. He was a premiership player when he played here with West Coast in 2018. Willie Rioli, 35 metres out. He kicks the goal for Port. Schultz will have it. Take the free kick for the Dockers. Fredericks all on his own in the right forward pocket and he marks. It's about a 45-degree angle to the right. He'll put boot to ball from 45 out. Freo could well do with this. Frederick has just been able to sneak it through. It was fading left. It's through for a vital major for the Dockers.
Horne-Francis wins the ball at the stoppage, takes a bounce, shows the pace, kicks inside to Butters, couldn't mark. McEntee gave it to Finlayson, curling snap around the body, is perfectly through the middle. And Port's leading goal kicker this year has his second.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
A reminder, the FIFA Women's World Cup final coming up later tonight. Spain versus England at Stadium Australia. If you're with us on Analog Radio, we'll go there 5:30 Western, 7:30 Eastern, or as soon as we can at the completion of this game. That's for listeners Victoria, Tasmania, SAWA and NC. On Analog Radio, that's where ABC Radio will go next. If you're on DAB+, digital in all capital cities, Sport Digital in Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide, Perth and Darwin, and ABC Radio Digital Plus in your capital cities. News Radio Digital Plus as well, and you can always stream and listen to it on the World Cup button. That is the Women's World Cup final, Spain versus England, later tonight. Let's get the thoughts of our experts, Sharad Wellingham and Cara Antonio on Grandstand AFL.
I thought Port Adelaide dominated that quarter. They came out, they had the 11 inside forward 50s for 3 goals, 2. Fremantle only able to score 1 major with their 9 inside forward 50s. I just thought Port Adelaide's backs held up really, really well, and they were chopping everything off and then rebounding from there. +6 for clearances, Port Adelaide that quarter, and +17 contested possessions, led from the front by Horne-Francis. 5 touches, 5 contested, and 4 clearances, and that was the difference for me, just making the most of their opportunities going inside forward 50.
I think that they went in there a little bit more direct inside their forward 50 as well. It felt like the positions that they kicked the ball to were really dangerous and required the Fremantle defenders to be really diligent. So it's one last quarter, and can they continue it on and go into the last final round with a good vein of form?
A quick look at the stats. The team stats quickly. Disposal count still favouring Fremantle 290 to 259. The contested possession count, though, swinging in favour of Port Adelaide 100 to 94. The inside 50 count Fremantle's way 35 to 29. The hitouts 29 apiece. The clearances 31 to 25 in favour of Port Adelaide. Liam Henry leading all comers on the ground with disposals 27. Caleb Sarong and Andy Brayshaw with 21 apiece. And Zach Butters with 24 for Port Adelaide. Connor Rosie supporting him with 22 of his own.
The MRO findings are out for Geelong. Mitch Duncan has been offered a one-match ban for careless conduct, medium impact and high contact. So rough conduct against Jack Higgins. The other player to be offered a suspension, Tom McCartan of the Swans. Careless conduct, high impact, high contact against Shane McAdam. So Tom McCartan been offered a two-match ban for Sydney. Port Adelaide lead by 22 points. Final term underway. It's Hayes who wins the tap down for the Power. Socket away, though, by Brayshaw off the ground. He runs to gather. Got a hand pass out through the legs of Switkowski. Butters mops it up. Short hand pass back to Farrell. Immediately set upon. Ball's been locked in. Good tackle from Schultz. It'll be a ball up. Right half forward for Fremantle. Sent up into the air. Jackson with the more telling tap. Sarong gathers, bounces off Boak, hand pass to Erasmus. Broke free of the Drew tackle. From right half forward, he puts it into the right forward pocket, sliding out Tracy. No real chance of being able to mark. It's over the boundary line for a throw-in. Just got hands to it at full stretch. Ball to be put in, 49 out from Fremantle's goal. Ali Banfield a shot on the big screen, as Cash told you a short time ago. Certainly having the shoulder heavily strapped. It's in a sling too, the left arm. Restart. Brayshaw looked to soccer out of trouble. It came down to Farrell. We'll have ourselves another ball up. A Cash quickly downstairs. Some news.
Yeah, the reason Tom Jonas spent so much time off during that third quarter was he had to undergo the SCAT concussion test and then sit off for the required time frame once he passed that test, and he's back on the field now.
Port Adelaide maybe learning from past mistakes, being extra cautious with Tom Jonas as they win the ball back through Butters. His kick trying to come outside defensive 50. Jones had to be good, broke the Henry tackle. Kicks into the middle of the ground. Burn-Jones met solidly by Pearce, but tackled him well. The Fremantle captain drops the ball. Port Adelaide win it in the middle, and the Fremantle player just knows.
He was knocked out of his hand.
Knocked out of his hands. I was about to say, Sharrett, I thought it could be a 50-metre penalty. It wasn't, but Port Adelaide have worked their way to 55 metres out now. Powell Pepper, kick inside 50, low. Searching ball finds the chest of Marshall.
It was a mismatch, and it was a good push off from Marshall. Recognised the mismatch, waited until Palpepper was looking at him, and then just a nice hit up lead.
Hard to defend that ball as well, coming in. Nice low flat kick.
Yeah.
Todd Marshall hasn't kicked a goal today. He's had a couple of chances, but it's been a little wayward, which is unusual for him. Normally very, very reliable in front of goal. Kick is on the way. It's across the face again. Orioli almost took a spectacular mark down there on the goal line. Ball's bobbling around. Powell Pepper snaps over his shoulder. Across the face, out of bounds on the full, says the umpire, but the field umpire says touched. So the ball will be tossed back in deep in Port Adelaide's attacking 50.
Port heading to the Farmer Freeway end, the left of our broadcast position in this final term. From the throw-in, Jackson got there first, couldn't gather. Powell Pepper handed it off. Finlayson snapped around the body. Was it being marked, or was it just gone through? I think it's gone through for a behind. Aish juggled it across the behind line. Minor score to Port, 9-7-61 to 5-8-38. 3 gone in the final quarter. Grandstand AFL and ABC Radio Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
Port Adelaide still very much in control of this contest. The kick from Ryan comes out beyond defensive 50, but Bergman takes a strong intercept mark. A good week last week, Bergman. 3 goals. Back behind the ball again today. High kick inside forward 50. Who will fly? Rioli went back, couldn't mark. Coming through was Wagner. He couldn't take it for the Dockers. They do win it now, though, through Clark. Under pressure, has to kick outside defensive 50. High Jonas punches the ball to Rioli. Now they're inside attacking 50. Darcy Byrne-Jones on the boundary, kicks it in, but the free kick is coming back, and it's going, I believe, to Travis Boak. Was it downfield?
Downfield, 5 metres.
So it's about 5 metres, as Cara Antonio says.
I don't get that.
It's a late.
Well, it goes to.
It's probably a worse
the
angle.
next possession. And Byrne-Jones is the receiver.
Replay. It was a late hit from Tracy. It was probably there. So Darcy Byrne-Jones has been able to find the score sheet on occasion. The kick from the tight angle is worked back beautifully, and don't the Port Adelaide fans love it? They pump the fist, the players. That's going to make it hard for Fremantle. Port Adelaide get their 10th goal, 10-7-67. Fremantle 5-8-38. Almost 5 minutes played, final term here on Grandstand AFL. Cara Antonio, Sharon Wellingham, our experts.
Yeah, a bit unnecessary from Tracy there. It was late in the back to the veteran in Travis Boak. Not what he needs.
Zach
But a
Butters
beautiful
celebration.
beautiful finish from Byrne-Jones there. Tucked up right against the boundary line.
Zach Butters didn't kick the goal, but he celebrated harder than anyone giving the fist pump to the crowd.
It's amazing to think
That's
Darcy
like-
Byrne-Jones has kicked 15 of his 22 career goals this year alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
All Australia.
Played mostly as a defender, and then
great
been
clearance
terrific. Lovely read from Young, bursting through, kicks Fremantle inside forward 50. Falls at the bootstraps of Sturt, strongly tackled. Umpire thinks for a moment, then says no, we'll go in and we'll ball this up. Jonas got him, the opposite number 1.
Big tackle, wasn't it? It was almost like he flipped him onto his back with a jiu-jitsu move.
Just crunched him into the ground. No bit of contact with the head. Could be okay, but you never know these days as Boak gets a clearing kick from the restart towards the commentary wing. Out after it, Powell Pepper. He's joined by Ryan. They see it through the Dockers interchange gates for another throw-in. Powell Pepper's had another beast of a day today. A couple of goals for Port when they were desperately required as well. Ball spun back in on centre wing. Jackson against Hayes. Hayes won it down. Sarong tried to shark it, bounced away from him, slapped it backwards. That didn't work as he was hoping for. Bounced to McEntee. Kicked around the body. Goes inside forward 50 for Port. Cox got there, broke through one tackle. Sarong sends it back by hand inside defensive 50 to Aish, now to Johnson. Comes down the line and marking it right half back is Schultz. 10-7-67 Port. 5-8-38 the Dockers. 7 gone in the last.
Fremantle need to find some avenues to goal and need to find them quickly. Port Adelaide will be getting back on the plane with the win if it stays this way. 29-point margin. Tracy has the ball in the wing, kicks inside, forward 50. Jackson and Amos fly, can't mark. Ali's in there for Port, able to tunnel it out to Drew. He lost it though, stolen by Freo. Sturt, run down from behind, he had a lot of time.
So many chase down tackles resulting in holding the balls today, isn't there?
It was Darcy Byrne-Jones at the other end of the field as he does. As was mentioned earlier, defends so well, and Port now have it with Bergman at half back, kicks it out to the wing. McEntee gets out the back of Warner, takes the mark, plays on, kicks inside 50, off hands. Spills to Ryan and the Dockers are able to clean up at half-back.
Comes to Aish from the top of his defensive 50-metre arc. Kicks towards the logo. Schultz has done really well. Couldn't mark but was able to trap it. Bobbed up quickly. Hand pass to Sturt. Hand pass into the centre square to Brayshaw. Flares it out towards the southern wing. On the bounce taken by Henry. Stops and turns. Goes looking for Emmett. Spoil came from Bergman. Emmett continues his run for the Dockers. Gathers on debut. Hands it back to Henry. Henry from outside the logo on the southern wing, kicks back into the middle of the ground. Aish has done really well to take the mark against Marshall. Dockers fans wanted Marshall to be pinged for knocking the ball away. The officials say it's okay. And Aish from behind the centre circles flares it out to Johnson, who marks it right half forward. Ryan was charging through. Wanted to receive the hand pass near the wing. Not to be. Johnson kicks it towards full forward, stretching Tracy. Oh, Amos gave it down to Switkowski, who snaps around the body for a terrific goal. Sam Switkowski with his seconds. Fremantle is their hope. They trail by 23 points with that goal. 9 minutes gone in the final term. Port a 10-7-67 to the Dockers 6-8-44 on Grandstand AFL.
That was a hands from Amos. Clean. He held Witzpurkowski out corridor side and
Yeah, clean through the
really clean.
Port defender's hands as well, wasn't it? Just underneath them.
Houston got sucked in and let Kowski on the outer and a nice snap on the left.
So maybe there's a pulse for the purple. The Dockers will have to really pull it back here. It'll be their biggest comeback from a three-quarter time margin ever if they can do it. So they're honouring their history and they want to create some today as the ball goes back in the middle. Sarong dives in, taking in a hard tackle forward, was pushed in the back, advantage called. Hayden Young spears the kick inside forward 50. It beats everyone. Jonas tracks it back. Handball's wide. Williams has to compete with Amos, does so. Gets around him, kicks it back towards Young. Oh, McInerney came in. Push Young out of the way, paid no play on the ball. It's a free kick. And Fremantle will have the ball back in Hayden Young's hands. 70 out from goal. His last kick was just too hot for everyone. This one, though, set up a little softer. Tracy flies. Good puncher, Lear. Switkowski tracking it back. Just kicked a goal this time. The boundary line beats him. 23-point margin the way of Port Adelaide. 10.5 gone. Final term here. Grandstand AFL from Perth Stadium here in the West.
Ball spun back into play. Left forward pocket for the Dockers. Been held without it, I thought Sarong. Umpire thought so too. Looking to chase the ball down after the tap. Came away from Tracy. And the free kick against Bergman.
Convert this and anything is possible.
Deserves a goal too, Strong. He's been good today. He's had the 10 clearances. He's set the tone inside and 15 of his 23 have been contested.
What a noted goal kicker, Caleb Sarong. 19 goals from what is now his 79th appearance in the AFL. Putting boots a ball from 30 outs. He's hit the left-hand upright. Minor score. 6-9-45 the Dockers. 10-7-67 the Power. 11.5 gone in the final term on Grandstand AFL.
A massive, I wouldn't say a let-off, but a disappointment for Fremantle with the miss there to Sarong. 22 points the margin. Port Adelaide have the ball, they have the lead. Still plenty of time though. Houston goes short, finds Wines, still inside defensive 50. No one mans the mark, now called to play on. Switches it inside, looking for the skipper in Jonas. Back on the ground. Takes the mark. Just had a little nervous moment. Now kicks wide again to Alir. Now the ball comes outside defensive 50. Rosie ran hard to get it. Kicks up the wing. Has his mate in Dersma. Port Adelaide happy just to chip the ball along and wait for it to open up, and they do so again. Ollie Wines, who started the possession chain really in the back line, has now got it on the wing. Port Adelaide working the ball towards half-forward, going back with courage. Taking the mark was Butters. He's 65 from home. Goes into the pocket, looking for a target. Finlayson somehow was out of position and still managed to work the player in Cox off the ball and take the mark.
Need to see the replay in that. I'm not too sure what Cox was doing, but a nice kick to the advantage side. Oh, nice body work, actually.
Yeah, he just
Finlayson
got him a little bit thin on the check and slipped down his shoulder.
He's already got 2 goals today, 38 for the season. Finlayson normally does this very well. And I don't know what's going on. It's a minor score. It's hit the post. 10-8-68 Port Adelaide, 6-9-45 the Dockers, 13.5 play. There was something weird going on in the pocket with the Fremantle player throwing something, but I'll hand back to you, Clinton. I'll keep an eye out.
There's another ball on the field as Fremantle move it away down the outer wing. Bounce taken by Johnson. Runs to the logo southern side. Kicks inside forward 50. Bounce favoured Jonas. Tackled by Sturt straight away. Got the hand pass out to Aliir. Hand pass went for Jones. He lost it. Trying to dive on top of it was Emmett. And he's been taken high. He'll get the free kick for Fremantle. 25 from goal. He'll start in line with the left hand behind post. So posters at both ends, the last two scoring shots. What can the debutant do?
He's had a good game. 10 touches, so going for his 11th. May end up with a couple of goals, 3 tackles, a couple of clearances.
There's one bit of play where he showed enormous pace as well.
The young South Australian on debut has overcome so much to get here. From 25 metres out, he keeps the Dockers in this with his seconds. They come from just about everywhere. As Fremantle get their 7th, 7-9-51 to Port, 10-8-68. 15 gone in the final term. Port's lead is 17 points.
Anything's possible, I suppose.
Anything is possible.
Another couple of centre bounce clearances and Fremantle can get the ball in deep to one-on-ones. It's where they've looked dangerous. Ball hits the ground and then Smalls get to work and puts the backs under pressure.
The breeze is favouring Port Adelaide's score again quite significantly. Can feel it up here coming through the window in the box.
Liam Henry back and Ryan onto a wing for Fremantle.
So they've made a change, the Dockers. Ball back in the middle. Sarong pounces on it for Fremantle. Ends up in the hands of Johnson. Handballs to Henry. Running towards 50. The ball's smothered, but it's knocked down in the path of Brayshaw. Steps around the player. Gives it to Emmett. He couldn't kick a third, could he? No, he's caught. Got the handball away. Diving back in now is Amos. Handball over the top. Frederick finds Schultz. Snap is smothered. It's chaos in the Fremantle forward line. Schultz dives back in, stands up in the tackle. How did he get it out? The umpire said play on. It comes to Frederick. High snap around the body. Frederick's kick is shallow. It's wide. It's a minor score. Fremantle pushing. Fremantle pressing. 7-10-52. They trail the power. 10-8-68. 16 minutes played, final term.
Liam Ryan on a couple of occasions, Luke Ryan on a couple of occasions, absolutely desperate to get the football.
Demanding it, wasn't he?
Yep. Everyone ignored him. What are you doing up here, they said. Won't go beyond defensive 50. Here's Powell Pepper. Goes by hand to Wines. Now back to Powell Pepper. Kicks in the direction of Rioli. They've done that well, Port. Rioli in front of his opponent. Marks on his chest. Powell Pepper runs by. Receives it on the logo. Kicks inside forward 50. Marshall diving. Can't mark. Still there to be won. Slapped away by Clark. Goes to ground. Umpire says play on. And then eventually says we'll have that back with Clark being infringed. And he has it in the right back pocket for Fremantle.
Love to see them just take it on, go through the middle, play free.
16 points the margin in favour of Port. 17 minutes gone in the final term.
The Dockers mounting a charge, but this kick won't help their case. Clark kicked to the wing, intercepted by Wines, and Clark howling instructions. Wasn't happy with no representation, but Ollie Wines, the Brownlow medalist, has the ball. Kicks into the pocket, looking for Marshall. Ake the mark with little to no pressure. Somehow found space in the forward 50.
Found space with a pretty big block from Rioli.
Well, he's done that to great effect before, Willie Rioli. Notably in 2018 in a grand final.
Put Pearce on his back, didn't he?
Sod Marshall will have a chance now to finally kick a major. He's been very wayward today. He's normally a great kick for goal. This one is another shocker.
3 out on the full today.
Out of bounds on the full and looked nowhere near it. As we see a replay of the block.
It's a very clever block.
I still don't think he would have got there anyway, Pearce. I think he was quite a way off it.
Still nicely done. As Fremantle bring it beyond their defensive 50. Wagner kicks towards the commentary wing. Knocked down onto the ground by Tracy. Getting back there. Well done, Dursman. Gathered, went back to Williams. Kicks towards left half forward. McIntyre looked to slap it on. No one there for Port, though. Comes here for Brayshaw, who just chips up and then waiting for it. Schultz, who got clattered into by Boak. Umpire says the contact was okay. Dangerous kick back inboard by Schultz. Rioli knocks it to ground. Boak's there to gather. Hand passes inboard to Drew. Drew for Port. Kicks into the centre square. Stretching Wines. Wines into the right forward pocket. Burne-Jones marks. 40 from goal. The turnover at right half back for Fremantle, costly, and now Burne-Jones with a chance to kick his second and all but ice the game.
Willie Rioli with that spoil, like you mentioned, Clint, and then I think it was Boak, just the experience to come back inside the corridor. Fremantle's numbers were all skinny, and then they were able to get out the fat side of the ground, Port Adelaide.
Darcy Burne-Jones, he's a best and fairest winner in 2020 and a former All-Australian. He kicks for Port towards goal. It's a telling blow for the Power. Their lead is to 22 points as we hit time on in the final term. Burne-Jones gets his second. Porter 11.874. Fremantle 7.10.52. Here on Grandstand AFL, Clint Wilden alongside Mitch Turner in commentary. Our experts, Sharad Wellingham and Cara Antonio.
It's definitely that transition across, wasn't it? Just opens up the whole 50. Burne-Jones had maybe 4 or 5 metres on his direct opponent, just off the back of the change of direction.
And it was a mismatch for speed. Pearce had to cover him, and not the quickest of players, Alex Pearce, but a great defender and really smart ball movement from Port Adelaide.
As you pointed out a few times, Cara, they live and die by that kick into the corridor, the Dockers, and at times today it hasn't come off for them, and Port have made them pay. Jackson climbed high in the ruck, but it comes the way of Port. Butters kicks out wide to Boak. There's plenty of time on the wing. No one mans the mark, so he plays on, kicks it inside forward 50, knocked away from Pearce by Lord. The Dockers win it back. Pearce now running outside defensive 50. Just got a handball away to Erasmus. Has been quite the sub since coming on for Fremantle. Kick up the wing now in the hands of Schultz. Wants to move it quickly. Kicks inside Freo's forward 50. A little push at the back from Cox, who's playing forward, and the umpire saw it very early. So they've swung the change. Brennan Cox going forward for Fremantle, but on that occasion infringed. A free kick to Wines. Happy to switch it into the pocket to Farrell.
Farrell goes short to Jones. Lockie Jones, and number 32 today for the 21-year-old. Takes as much time as he can, and it's told to move on. Looks to switch play, kicking across the face of goal, back towards Williams. As I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, signed on for another couple of years with Port Adelaide, as did his coach in Hinkley. Not a great kick, though, from Williams. He's missed everything. It'll tumble over the boundary line. There were 2 Port players in the vicinity, though. There's the official crowd, 38,360. Today's attendance, 38,360, coming along for 14th versus 3rd. Thrown in again. Jackson palmed it down, got it to Sarong now, to Erasmus, worked it to Brayshaw, thought he was held without it. Boak was in the vicinity, umpires say play on. It comes to Boak from Powell-Pepper, he's well tackled, just got the ball out. Dockers fans won't like that, and eventually it's over the boundary line with Powell-Pepper tackled by Ryan. They exchange some pleasantries. It'll be a throw-in left half forward for Fremantle. Power are 11.874, the Dockers 7.10.52, 22 gone in the last.
He got a boot to it, Boak, in the tackle, so good call by the umpire. Jackson taps it down into the path of Brayshaw, taken in a tackle. Burne-Jones dives into Port. He's taken to ground. Another ball up, same spot. 23 minutes played, a 22-point margin the way of the Power. Ball back up in the air, tapped down to Drew. His kick went about 4 metres to Lord. Tried to claim the mark. The umpire said, no way, mate. Play on. Kicks it towards half forward. Clark there for the Dockers. Tried to punch it away. Fell the way of Finlayson. Port go inside forward 50 to kick. Over the head of Horne-Francis. And Frederick wins it back for Fremantle. Kicks to the wing. Thomas Emmett. Very good job, the debutant. Able to win the ball. Tumble one towards half forward. but Port have the numbers. Clear back to the wing, and Wines takes the mark on the logo. He's able to go short to Farrell, right in front of the interchange gates as the seconds continue to tick down. Final quarter.
Moves it in the direction of Butters. Couldn't mark. Went to ground. Tried to drag it back in here. This will be interesting. It's been held in by Tracy. Umpire says ball up. He might have been taken high as well. A couple of what-ifs in that battle. The umpire says we'll just throw it up instead. Earlier today, West Coast by 7 over the Bulldogs. Melbourne by 27 over the Hawks. Ball put aloft. Comes down in the direction of Erasmus. He's set upon immediately by Drew after Hayes won the hit out. Ball up again. Still at left half forward for Port. Hayes front position. Palmed it down to Drew. Tackled immediately by Erasmus. They both go to ground. Bounces off Sarong to Brayshaw for the Dockers. To Jackson. Brayshaw runs behind him at right half back. Kicks in towards defensive 50 to Ryan. Kick is a good one out towards Henry. Switch of play towards left half back. Henry for the Dockers. Kicks to the outer side. Amos has done well. Worked his opponent out under the football. Mark played on by hand to Schultz. Kick inside 40. Cox! Strong grab up against the Lear. 50 from goal. He gets up and looks for an option. Nothing immediately presents. So he'll load up towards goal. It's a great kick. Oh, goodness me. Brennan Cox. His second goal of the year. That's an absolute ripper. It might not mean much in the context of the game, but it'll give Fremantle's fans something to cheer about. Port Adelaide's leaders cut back to 16 points. Porter 11-8-74. Fremantle 8-10-58. 26 gone in the final term. Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
Oh, great mark. Against two Port Adelaide oppositions. Comes down. Did the right thing. Waited for a couple of teammates to present. Nothing really obvious and had no problem with it going back and dobbing it from 55 metres out. But what's a little bit frustrating for me, Cara, is they're playing with freedom and taking the game on, which I love seeing from Fremantle, but I don't know, maybe they just need to employ it earlier. I know that coaches don't like it sometimes because you can easily get scored against, but I think they just got to employ it at different times through the quarter.
Ball back up in the middle of the ground. Hayes taps it forward for Port, but Clark came out for the Dockers. Tapped it away from him. Ball in congestion, middle of the ground. Johnson for the Fremantle. Able to break a couple tackles. Fed it back to Brayshaw. He was under pressure. Handball just whacked it forward. Switkowski taps it away. Now Port win it back through Rosie and Butters. And now Boak able to settle the play down, the veteran. Goes wide to the man with the mullet and the mo in Jones. Now Dersma has it on the wing. Port Adelaide happy to just slow it down here. They hold a 16-point lead with not a lot of time to go, ticking deep into time on in the fourth as Jones now goes back again after receiving it from Dersma, gives it back to him. And Dersma retreats to Marshall just outside left half back. So Port really just ticking the seconds down off the clock. And what's been a pretty impressive performance coming on the road. And they'll wrap up 4 points very shortly. Zach Butters is called to play on. Runs into a little bit of trouble, runs out, finds Pal Pepper. So Port Adelaide have taken well over a minute off the clock here and have not moved from the same position on the ground.
Their final game of the season against Richmond on Sunday. As Port bring it towards the commentary wing, Horne-Francis got two hands to it, couldn't quite mark. It spills down to Jones, and he's been tackled to ground. It'll be a ball up again.
I loved the Jones-Emmett battle at times today. Two just hard nuts.
Jackson won it down. Horne-Francis got it on in turn to Wines, sweeps the hand pass forward, comes again towards Drew. Hand passes back inboard. Here's Butters. Butters short hand pass, or short pass rather, goes back once more. Just happy to soak up the seconds here as Farrell heads back again to Marshall. The Dockers' last home game of the season. Fittingly is going to end in disappointment, while Port are going to celebrate. Coach Ken Hinkley's re-signing. They turn it over on the outer side of the ground though, Port. Schultz puts it back inside forward 50. The Power win their 16th game of the season. And they celebrate the re-signing of their coach Ken Hinkley for 2 more seasons. The Power victorious in the West by 16 points. 11-8-74 to 8-10-58. Port Adelaide by 22 points. They trailed by 1 at quarter time, led by 9 at the half, by 22 at three-quarter time, and that's what the score remained at the end of the game. The goal kickers, Powell-Pepper with 2, Finlayson with 2, Burn-Jones with 2. Singles to Butters, Rioli, Horn-Francis, Lord and McEntee. While for Fremantle, on debut, 2 to Tom Emmett, 2 to Michael Frederick, 2 to Sam Switkowski. Singles to Luke Jackson and to Brennan Cox. Port Adelaide, they nestle themselves in on 3rd spot. They're in 3rd only on percentage behind Brisbane, both of them with 16 wins for the season. But the Lions, who have St Kilda on Saturday at the Gabba, their percentage 123.2. Port Adelaide in 3rd, 111.5. They've got Richmond on Sunday, and Melbourne after their 27-point win today over the Hawks in 4th. With 60 points, 124.8%. They've got Sydney on Sunday, the Demons. So still a bit to do for those sides just to sort out who happens to finish where, with Collingwood still on top, a game clear of Brisbane and Port Adelaide. Not too long before we take you to the World Cup final, Spain and England. If you're on Analog Radio and ABC Sport Digital, as Port go to celebrate with their fans, and there's a fair contingent of them here as well at Perth Stadium. Let's get the thoughts of our experts, Cara Antonio and Sharad Wellingham on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, I think that it was just a little bit too clinical and efficient from Port Adelaide. I think that both teams showed a real desire and eagerness for the contest. I thought the contest was pretty good from both sides. Tackles, chase, big contest, marking contest. There was plenty of it. There was plenty of it all day. But Port just showed their class a little bit and had an ability to just keep Fremantle from breaking inside that 2-goal barrier. In saying that, I don't think that I saw anything miraculous from Port. It was just a job done kind of win for me. Saw some positive signs from Fremantle towards the back half of the game. I think that for mine, I've always said I really love it when they play with a bit of freedom and almost release the shackles a little bit and aren't quite as conservative as they can be. whenever they open up the ground and you know, take that inside kick and use the open side, they just look so much more damaging. I think they may have mucked up a little bit of their positioning with the key forwards in Tracy and Miss being a bit high. They didn't have presentation deep inside the forward 50. But it was a really good contest all day from both sides. I was most impressed with that aspect of the game. I think it was a really well contested game with just a little bit too much class. I think Butters and Rosie really set the game up quite early. And then, I think the midfield battle probably didn't play out quite as I thought. I haven't actually looked at the clearances and things, but Port managed to win the clearance.
38 to
33. And then the inside 50s were 46 to Fremantle to Port 40. So Fremantle ended up getting it in there a little bit more, but Port just more clinical, more efficient when they did go in there.
Yeah, I think that was the difference. Number of opportunities that Fremantle had across the course of the game, could have probably hit the front at a number of times, and opportunities just not capitalising. In saying that, though, down the other end was the same. Todd Marshall, 3 out of bounds on the fulls that usually you'd see him go back and slot those ones. So, yeah, I think you're right, Shaz. Not a overly convincing win, I suppose, from Port Adelaide. But again, they'll take it. They'll take the momentum into the finals. You're right. I mean, Butters and Rosie early on were fantastic, and they just grinded out the game. But Brayshaw in the last quarter had 12. He was the one for me that if it was going to happen, he was going to get the job done, and just so consistent, his performances over the last few years, Brayshaw. But unfortunately, couldn't get the job done. Fremantle, a really nice win to Port, and what do they finish? Third? Are they third at the moment?
Well, they've still got a chance at top 2, but more than likely finish third.
So home, yeah.
I was impressed with Hayes as well.
Let's head down into the Port Adelaide room as they're making their way down there now. Akash Fodder waiting after Port's 22-point win over Fremantle. Akash?
That's right, they've just started making their way into their room, so there's a small group of family and friends here to welcome them. As you mentioned, that 22-point win sees them in third spot at the end of this round, and look, a win against Richmond next week and results going their way, they could still finish top 2, but they're not getting, I think, overly carried away at the moment, just taking their time to get into the circle. Jeremy Finlayson has his little daughter in his arms, so I think she might get to be part of this song here. They do have quite a big contingent of WA fans I would thank too, but here they go with the song.
Keep an ear on you downstairs, Akash. If you can get someone for us in the next 10 minutes, we'll head straight back for Port Adelaide's and their reflections on their 22-point win today. So here's what we know after a remarkable round of football. Round 23. St Kilda, because of the West Coast Eagles beating the Western Bulldogs, they would have had plenty of reason to be a bit concerned, but St Kilda, they're in the finals. They can't be dislodged now after the Western Bulldogs loss. So they sit in 6th at the moment, but they can't be knocked out on their 52 points. Melbourne have sewn up a spot in the 4 and the double chance with their 27-point win over the Hawks earlier today. And then I agree with you really. Port Adelaide, I still think will finish third, but they have opened themselves up for still that possibility of maybe finishing second. If the Saints can go to the Gabba and cause one of the upsets of the last couple of years.
That's a big win they'd have to come off with.
Let's never say never after last week's...
Oh, they were good last night too.
I was about to say, after last week's Witches Hats got over and went and beat the Western Bulldogs today, let us never say never.
Never say never.
Never say never to
you think that maybe they'll bounce back. The other thing that could play out is Port lose next week. And Melbourne would jump them into
with
third.
percentage, yeah. Melbourne got Sydney next week.
They do on Sunday.
It's going to be a cracking game.
They're in good form,
Sydney at the SCG, which again, and I'm not suggesting anyone doesn't try, but I do ask you this question. Would you rather play Brisbane at the Gabba in the first week of the finals or Collingwood at the MCG? They're neither of them are particularly wonderful options.
If you're Melbourne and you're in fourth, you'd probably want to stay in fourth.
You would, wouldn't you?
Collingwood
Play
at
at
the
the
G,
G,
especially with Darcy Moore, Nick Dacos. They're all coming back from injury. They might be a little underdone, bit rusty maybe, these key important players.
DeGoey, Bobby Hill come back in.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think so.
Maybe. DeGoey should be back.
DeGoey could have played, apparently.
Yeah, if it had been a final.
Yeah, Brisbane at the Gabba is a
Yeah, that's a daunting task.
Yeah. No one wants to do that. The race for 8th is really good. So that's obviously Sydney now locked into the finals with 50 points. It didn't look like they were going to make it at the halfway point of the season. With all
That's an incredible turnaround, isn't it?
The Giants on 48 points. They sit in 8th spot, but the Dogs are on 44 points. Essendon unlikely in 10th because their percentage is just so poor.
Yeah.
After that, they went down 5%, I think it was, or 6% yesterday, which really took them completely out. So Dogs and Giants fighting out for that last spot. As I say, the Dogs are a win behind, but they have better percentage. So that'll be an interesting clash. The Giants face Carlton next week. The Dogs play the Cats. And
the Cats at the Cattery.
At the Cattery.
You made the point, Andrew Wu posted this last night too, so I can't claim to have thought it up. But round 14, Sydney sat in 13th, GWS in 14th and Carlton in 15th. And the Swans and the Blues are now in the finals, and GWS, right as we speak, are in the finals.
So who was at the bottom of the 8 or 10 and 11 at that stage?
Oh, well, now you're asking me questions that I actually have to go back and look at. Got to give us a bit of pre-warning on these sorts of things. Got to do our stats. Hang on, let's go.
What round were you talking about?
Round 14.
Round 14, the ladder was... So Sydney were down in 15th, Carlton in 14th. You want to know who was at the top?
No. Who was like 8, 9, 10?
So St Kilda 5, Essendon 6, Essendon and Dogs 6 and 7. The Crows at 8.
Yeah, wow.
Richmond at 9, Geelong at 10. So Carlton and Sydney have come from the clouds, and so too the Giants, really, to jump over a fair few of those sides.
It's really well done. Carlton, obviously, hugely impressive back end of the year.
They were sitting 14th.
That's probably the biggest one for me.
That's massive. I mean, in fairness, it's been so close that...
Well, the Blues lost 6 games in the middle of the year and 8 of 9 between round 4 and round 13. The one that they won in the middle of that was that 108-point flogging over the West Coast Eagles. So they've lost, 8 of 9, and they've still found a way to storm home, have not lost since round 14.
Incredible. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Sharad Kara?
For Carlton?
No, not in the sense, but when you have a massive run into the finals, like a really long run of winning.
Oh,
I think
great.
it's good.
It's good, but can they sustain it?
Nah, yeah,
I think so.
not
Because
nah.
they've been
I
winning
said
for a
yes.
long time.
I was about to go, yeah, nah. Nah, yeah. They definitely can continue on. They 10 games by 50 points.
Yeah,
they're
killing it.
They're killing it.
Let's have a look at the numbers. Before you do that, we'll see if we can head downstairs as well. I'm just going to tell everyone this is where you're going, and we'll get the votes as well. But this will take me about a minute to get through because people are going everywhere. If you're on analogue radio, ABC Radio, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, WANT, at 1:30, so in about 4 minutes' time, you'll be off to the World Cup final, Spain versus England. If you're on DAB+, so if you're on Sport Digital in the capital cities, that's where you'll be headed as well. You can also listen if you're on News Radio DAB+, or our ABC Radio DAB+ in all capital cities, and you can also go to the World Cup button to stream or listen to the World Cup. That's where we're off to next. But first, let's head back down into the Port Adelaide rooms. Akash.
Thanks, Clint. Yeah, I've got Port Adelaide superstar Zach Butters with me. Zach, that win locks away a top 4 spot for you. How important is that for the group?
Yeah, very important. Definitely at the start of the year, you look at finishing in the finals and if you can, top 4 to lock away that double chance. So, yeah, it's good to do it, but more importantly to string a few wins together at an important time of the year. And it wasn't pretty today, but I thought we stuck at it. And, you definitely take a win on the road in Perth. So.
How important is it to get those wins on the road, heading to finals where you might have to play, an away final first up if you can't get that top 2 spot?
Yeah, very important, and definitely going to the finals is something you want to practice and get your routines and try and get on top of it and get it right. And there's no bigger test than coming to Perth, and Freo have been pretty good coming off a 100-point win in the Derby last week. So we knew we were going to have a cut out for us, and I thought at times they looked a better team, but I think for the majority of the day we'll be able to handle it and get our own looks as well.
And a lot's made of your talented young midfield group, yourself, Connor Rosie, Jason Horne-Francis and the likes, coming up against one that Fremantle as well, Brayshaw and Sarong. How was that challenge for your group?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a challenge coming in. They've probably been doing it the last year or two and have been pretty consistent performers for their team and probably leaders in the club as well. So it's sort of something I've looked up to in the last few years, and hopefully that could take a few things out of their book and build a good relationship with Caleb Salong. So it was kind of good to go up against him today and go head to head with him, and he had a good game as well. So it's always good to play against quality other young players.
Can you just expand a little bit that relationship with Caleb Salong?
Yeah, just with Kari coming over from Freo and probably me learning a bit more mid stuff in the last year or so. Just got in contact with him, and I think I caught up with him in gather round when they were over, and just had a chat about footy and a bit of life stuff as well. And he's a really good fella, so just keep in touch throughout the year and talk about footy and other midfields and stuff. So he's a really good fella, and he's probably helped me out a bit as well.
Great, well done again today, Zach, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Sean.
Well done, Akash. Fotodar downstairs with one of the absolute superstars, no doubt about that, from the Port Adelaide Football Club, Zach Butters. Well done getting him. Just repeating those 3 scores. The West Coast Eagles by 7 points over the Bulldogs, Melbourne by 27 over the Hawks, and, of course, Port Adelaide by 22 over Fremantle. In 60 seconds, here's what the other numbers tell us.
I'll race through the stats so we can get to the votes. The leading disposal getters for the Dockers, Andrew Brayshaw, 32 touches to go with his 5 clearances. Liam Henry, 31, continuing his run of form. Could be his last home game for the Dockers. 27 touches to Lockie Schultz, 27 to Caleb Sarong, 12 clearances for him as well. His great form continues. Over on the other side, the man we just heard from, Zach Butters, 31 touches and a goal. Ollie Wines, 25 disposals. Connor Rosie with 24. Dersma and Dylan Williams with 20 apiece as well. Win number 142 for Ken Hinkley. He ties Mark Williams for the most wins ever coached at Port Adelaide. The final score, 11-8-74. Power, 8-10-58, Fremantle.
Sharad, Cara, the votes, please.
All right, we've got the 1-2 Brayshaw. Thought he was really good for Fremantle, especially in the last quarter. He had the 12. I've actually given the 2 to Finlayson, and I thought he was massive up forward. No Charlie Dixon, but really presented well. 18 disposals, 9 score involvements, and kicked a couple himself. And the 3 to Zach Butters, 32 touches, 10 ground ball gets, a number of clearances, tackles, and he hit the scoreboard.
And influential early.
So, and the Christian medal, we've got a 3 with Brayshaw, the 2 and the 1, please.
Yeah, 2 to Sarong, really, really damaging with the 12 clearances. I thought he set them up inside, and I've given the 1 to Schultz. Played a different role today, didn't hit the scoreboard, but had the 6 score involvements and 7 inside forward 50s with his 27 touches.
Cara, Sharad, thank you. Akash downstairs. Adrian, our tech. Mitch, great job alongside me as well. Port Adelaide by 22 points over Fremantle. Melbourne by 27 over the Hawks. And the Eagles by 7 over the Bulldogs. Let's go to the World Cup final.
Spain against England in half an hour.